Hey everybody, welcome to a special Dark Mushroom Media cast where we're just going to talk about Hearthstone. We're going to talk about the nerfs, going to talk about all the new cards. So sit back. This is going to be a long one. This one's going
Yes.
to be a doozy. But as usual, I'm joined by Tim.
Hello.
Tim's over there. He's going to join me in the the theory crafting, the discussion, everything. We'll see what happens. We're going to share our thoughts on all the nerfs, all the new cards, and you guys can feel free to flame us about them after everything's done. But I'm really excited for this new expansion in general. I've been itching to talk about it since they started with the news, but Tim was like, no, we have to save this.
Must wait.
We must wait for one long super mega cast. And I was like, okay, well.
It'll be 3 hours long. It's like the Odyssey. You just gotta read it. It's amazing.
It's going to be something like that. But yeah, overall general thoughts before we really get into any in-depth discussion. I'm really loving what they are doing with Shaman. I think Druid is going to be I think Druid is going to be a hell of a force to be reckoned with.
Power. Despite all the nerfs, still power.
Yeah, exactly. Like they just nerfed Druid because they were giving them so many good cards. That's really what it comes down to. Hunters, I think, are going to be the third one. That is going to be really fucking overpowered.
I'm looking forward to that very much so.
Yeah, Tim's a big hunter player.
I shoot bows.
Priest dragon or dragon priest too. So yeah, we're gonna discuss all this stuff. We're gonna kick it off with the nerfs. We're gonna take a look at those first. Go on and browse over here. What are we starting with on this nerf list?
Well, let's just start what everyone else did and just go down the line.
All right.
First one up, Druid class. Very popular card. Not going to be so popular. Ancient of Lore, which was a 7 cost 5/5, in which you could either choose to draw 2 cards or restore 5 health. It's now a 7 cost 5/5, in which you can choose to draw 1 card or restore 5 health. It's just amazing the difference that 1 card makes.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like I think this card still has potential to see play.
Yeah, certain decks this can absolutely still work, just for the flexibility alone.
I don't think this is quite as awful as everybody's making it out to be. Yeah, it sucks that you're not going to get 2 cards, but honestly, that card was kind of overpowered to give you a 5/5 body and 2 cards for 7 mana. Like that was pretty overpowered. And nobody ever really used its health option unless it was like dire situation, you know?
Yeah, maybe with aggro situations, like where just turn 5, you're down to 18 health. You got cards, you don't really need the draw. It's nice to have the flexibility.
Yeah. So I mean that heal is still there. The draw 1 card, yeah. I mean it's definitely a nerf, and I think because of it, it's not going to be an auto include. But I think it's silly to think that this card won't see play still, especially with some of with the Druid Legendary that got released. We'll get to that later down the road. So yeah, I mean this sucks, but it's not the end of the world. I think, like I said, it's still got potential.
Yeah, it could have been nerfed a little bit better, but yeah, it's still is likely to see play in certain decks.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do we have on the list?
Next Druid card, which would be Force of Nature. A lot of people very annoyed with the whole Savage Roar Force of Nature combo, in which you have just from those cards alone the 14 damage because it adds 2 to your face too. So
honestly, I thought they were gonna nerf Savage Roar.
That's what pretty much everyone thought.
Because I still think that's too much power for 3 mana.
It is. You can have a board full of weenies and just do an amazing amount of damage.
Yeah. Granted, they really just seem to have this common theme of just nerfing anything with charge. So I mean, I guess it makes sense. It goes with that theme. You'll see it as we progress. Pretty much, a lot of classic cards with nerf with charge got nerfed.
Yep.
So I mean, it makes sense. I guess I can see their avenue. They're choosing for it. It makes sense in terms of like trying to make it a super late game type of game. It just, I don't know. It takes a lot of lethal potential out.
Yeah. Well, the big change with the card is it was a 6 cost summoned 3 2/2 treants with charge. Now it's 5 cost. Still summons the 3 2/2 treants, but no charge. So.
Right. And I think him not nerfing Savage Roar is the reason that this card still might see play. I don't think that it's going to be something. I think it's going to be included in very niche, like on the fringe type of decks.
If I built a Druid Reno deck, I would probably throw a copy in.
Yeah, I could just see it work in aggro druid really.
That
If
too.
you wanted to do something like that, because it gives you that flexibility late game if you need to. Well, I guess like mid late game, because if it's like a really true aggro deck, which is really the only thing that I see this working in, uh, you're gonna start running out of steam come like turn 7 or so, and this could kind of turn that around. Um, but I don't think it's going to be in every single druid deck like it has
No,
been.
no.
Not at all. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's my input on it. You have anything else?
Aggro or Reno. That's the only right now. That's the only decks I could do. Who knows how the meta's going to shape up? Maybe it'll fit in a Cthulhu deck, but I don't see that.
I don't know about that one. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe.
but
I think it would be interesting to include if you did like a druid. What is it? What's that legendary neutral card that got released that like casts spells randomly for every spell?
Yogg.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
yeah,
no. Wait, true. No, it's a neutral card, isn't it?
yeah. It's a neutral.
Yeah.
Um, I think it would be interesting to include in a deck like that.
Yeah, it could work. Decent mid-game spell, gives you some board presence, so it does stuff. Just it's not quite as good as it was, but it's something had to change with that or Savage War, so they went
Yeah.
that route.
Yep.
Next nerf card, another Druid card, Keeper of the Grove, which was a 4-cost 2/4, and you got to choose one, deal either 2 damage or silence a minion. Effect is still the same, cost is still the same, but now instead of a 2/4, it is a 2/2. I think it's still playable, honestly. I don't know if it's definitely not an auto include, like it's pretty much been in every Druid deck, but just that flexibility alone and the fact that it's 4 mana and the fact that Ironbeak Owl costs 1 more now and it's only 1 mana less, I think it has potential to see play.
I don't know. I think this card's really hard to see play. I mean, most people really use. And you've still got the flexibility. You can do the 2 damage or you can silence. But I think most of the time people kind of played that card for the silence, anyways. It was kind of an auto include because it could still deal with a lot of things on the board at that point in the game. But because of the fact that they've subtracted, if I feel like a better balance for it would have been to make it a 2/3.
Yeah, I think Reddit agrees.
I think a 2/2 is just it's too slow of a tempo swing just to silence a minion. So honestly, like because of the owl buff or nerf that we're going to discuss in a little bit, I really think Spellbreaker is going to be your go-to for silence because it's a 4/3. It costs the same amount. Like, why wouldn't you just put that in there? It's much more capable of dealing with anything that your opponent plays on turn 4 or usually turn 5. And you get the silence out of it, so I don't see.
It's still got that flexibility. That's why. I could be wrong, but I mean, I don't think it'll be like tournament decks or anything. I'm just talking random Druid decks here and there might include it just because the silence costs more. But like you said, silent or 4/3 body for silence, But again, flexibility. So
Yeah, I mean that 2 damage option, I guess. But is it really worth the 2 extra mana? I mean, like you could play a 2/2 on like turn 2, And is it really worth 2 more mana to get that silence off?
1 more mana. Ironbeak Owl's 3. That's why.
Yeah, but Ironbeak Owl's a 2/1, so I'm saying.
Right. Oh, you're talking about the life. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the mana. Yeah, no, you have a point there. It's just all about the flexibility with that. It's the only reason I'm still thinking it might show up in certain decks.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think Blizzard like effectively nerfed that out of the game, but
yeah,
we'll see.
It's not going to be common. I'll give you that.
What's next on the list?
That brings us to Ironbeak Owl, which you just talked about, which was a 2-cost 2/1. And now it is a 3-cost 2/1, and its battle cry is the same, silence a minion.
Yeah, I think this is fair, honestly.
Yeah, the only deck it really hurts is stupid aggro, really.
Yeah. I mean, I still, once again, it comes down to the stats plus the silence cost. I still think going with the other card,
That neither of us can ever fucking remember.
Spellbreaker. Going with Spellbreaker is really the best option. I mean, it just.
I might run an Ironbeak Owl over a Spellbreaker in a Hunter deck though, just for the beast. It's got the beast tag, so it's got that going.
Yeah, I mean, and there I can see it. That makes sense to me.
I don't know if I'd run 2 of them though.
I really wouldn't. I mean, honestly, the one problem with Hunter is still that you don't have an effective way to deal with a lot of things. So that silence is still going to be pretty much like in auto include, and since it's got the beast tag, I really think it's going to see a lot of play still. And you're right. You're right. Actually, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it will still see a lot of play in Hunter, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't see it be like it's not going to be like across the board. You know, like I really don't think you're going to see it in hand locks or Reno locks anymore.
No. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It could be like a niche or aggro fit, but really that's all I can see with that one. There's really not too much else to say about it, honestly.
Yeah. Moving on to the other neutral cards, we are moving on to Big Game Hunter, which was a 3-cost 4/2. Destroy a minion with 7 or more attack. Same exact card, except now it costs 5 mana. Still going to see play, especially in Reno.
Yeah, it's definitely still going to see play. I also think that this is one of the most fair nerfs that Blizzard has ever done.
Yeah.
Because I there were a lot of people saying no, I don't want Big Game Hunter in the game at all. Like his battle cry is just it's too powerful, but they're getting ready to throw creatures that could literally be huge, bigger than we've ever seen before in our lives. And unless you're playing a class like either rogue with assassinate, shaman with hex, or mage with polymorph, you're not going to have a very easy way of dealing with these things. I mean, I guess paladins have a quality, but is that really good
Priests
enough?
have like 3 different ways to deal with big cards, basically.
Yeah. Priests are going to be really effective at it too. But like this gives you something powerful that you can use to just.
It's a body on the board.
It gives you yeah, exactly. It's a body on the board. The best option or the best thing about it is that it gives you a little bit of tempo. So like if your enemy only has that one giant creature, you can play big game, destroy theirs, and then all of a sudden you're the one with the power on the board. So it's still a massive tempo swing. I think it's totally fair at 5 mana. You can still play a hell of a lot with it. I mean, there's tons of like combos that you can still do. If you got 10 mana and you big game, then you can still play another 5 mana minion, and there's lots of really good ones. So I think it's going to be just fine. It's still going to see plenty of play.
Oh yeah. Next nerfed card. Moving on to the Hunter class, Hunter's Mark, which was a 0-cost spell that changed a minion's health to 1. It's now a 1-cost spell that changes a minion's health to 1. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I gotta admit I didn't see it coming at all. I didn't really have too much of a problem with this card in general.
No, I was happy with it the way it was, but 1 mana cost, really, it doesn't.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's fair.
Yeah, I don't think anything about it is unfair. I think it's totally a viable thing to do. So I don't know. It goes along with it. It honestly, like if you analyze it from a neutral perspective, it's something that like it really was overpowered to have to pay nothing to just reduce a minion's health to 1. That's
Especially with stuff like Dreadsteed in your deck. That was hilarious.
And I mean, I think part of the reason that they did this was because I think we're going to see a lot more play from lock and load, and I've talked about this on Reddit, and I've had people respond to me like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Nobody's going to play that card." Like, I think it has more potential to be played now, given the fact that they're trying to shift the meta to this really late game thing, and this really synergizes well with lock and load if it's 0 mana. So I think they kind of just didn't want hunters to have that, but I don't know. We'll see.
Dread Scale, that's what I meant to say, damn it. The legendary that deals 1 damage to all. Hunter legendary deals 1 damage to all minions at the end of turn. Worked really great with Hunter's Mark. Still does, because it's only 1 cost. But
Right.
It was very effective removal. Alright, moving on to the Rogue class. Blade Flurry, which was a 2-cost spell that destroyed your weapon and dealt damage to both all enemy minions. Well, all enemies, so both minions and the player. Now is a 4-cost card that when you destroy it, destroys your weapons and deals damage to all enemy minions, not the player. This got stomped on. Like, I mean, something had to be done, I think, sort of, maybe. Not even sure on that, but just the fact that it's double and it doesn't deal player damage to the player's face, and that, or the oil deck is leaving standard and going to wild. Just fuck did this card get stomped on.
Yeah, it definitely did. I can't disagree with that. But at the same time, I think it's still to see play, and I think
Rogue doesn't have a lot of good board clear. Blade
Yeah,
Flurry was among the best, well, pretty much the best. So it's still good for that, but it's just
I
double
think
cost and the no damage to the enemy face.
I think
It's
it
rough.
limited game design too much with all the oil rogue stuff that was going on. And if they want to experiment with weapons and giving weapons more damage in the future, which I think is something totally viable to do for Rogue and should be more of its mechanic, then they
People
would have to
expected
get
it when they announced the nerf before they released the end of all the cards, like,
yeah.
and it just didn't happen.
So I mean, I think it will in future expansions.
Yeah, it's much more likely.
Probably sooner rather than later. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of that kind of stuff in the next adventure we get.
Rogue Adventure, best adventure.
So I think it needed to be done just because it limits gameplay too much, and Rogue seemed to be the victim of that by circumstance with both of its nerf cards. So I don't know. Blizzard obviously felt they needed to happen. I didn't personally have a problem with the card. There really wasn't that much Rogue being played anyways, so
Yeah,
I never really had an issue with it.
doesn't look like it's going to change in the near future.
That, and it was pretty rare because it wasn't very often I got killed by Blade Fury. It was usually something else because usually you had to I don't know, it requires a few cards to be able to pull that off, and it's generally pretty late game when you're able to do that.
Double prep, double poison.
I never really ran into stuff there's so many different cards that you have to have in your hand to be able to pull that off.
It was a game-winning combo, but it was rare that you actually got that combo and won the game just immediately off that.
Yeah, so I mean, I never really had a problem with card in the first place, but Blizzard's gonna blizz, I guess.
Apparently. Let's move on to the next card, which is a neutral minion, the Knife Juggler, which was a 2-cost 2/3, and after you summoned a minion, it dealt 1 damage to a random enemy. It's the exact same card, except instead of being a 3/2, it is now a 2/2. I think it's a fair nerf, and I'm pretty sure this will still see play in certain decks.
Yeah, this is definitely still going to see play. The problem is, I don't know how much. Honestly, I don't know how much aggro is going to get played, and this was pretty aggro oriented. Like I said, I think it's a fair nerf. I really did think it was a very OP card at 3/2. But I just don't see that much aggro happening anymore. I mean,
I think aggro is going to be the cheapest way to climb rank.
I honestly, the only place that I think that we're still going to see a lot of Knife Juggler is in what's it called? Zulux.
Zulux?
Yeah.
There's a lot of summon cards, like that Warlock card where you spend however much mana to summon stuff. There's still Unleash the Hounds. It can still see play in some decks, and it still will. It just won't be in, half the decks you run into, I think. But it'll still be around, I think, as well. Concur. Let's move on to the next neutral minion, which is a Leper Gnome. It's a 1-cost 2/1, and its Death Rattle dealt 2 damage to the enemy hero. It is a 1-cost 1/1 now, and its Death Rattle still deals 2 damage to the enemy hero. I keep going back and forth on this. I think it's a fair nerf, and sometimes I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that'll still see play, and then other times I'm like, oh, there's no way anyone would play that. So I can't make up my mind on the new Leper Gnome.
I still think it's a really good 1-drop.
It is a good 1-drop.
I think it'll still see play in very, very niche aggro decks. I don't think this is going to be the last we see of Leper Gnome, though. I'm with you. I think the nerf is. Well, I think it's beyond fair. I've always thought this card was.
Everyone always thought this card. This was one of the first common cards where it was like, fuck, I need 2 of these. I'm gonna have to craft one.
Yeah, I mean that card. This card is just way too good, and I think it's still really, really good. I think it's at what it should have been when they released it the first time. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't have too much of an opinion on this. I didn't play a lot of aggro. I've always tended to be more mid-range than control. So
I played more mid-range than aggro, and he fit in mid-range decks too. He was just a solid 1-drop, and he's still kind of a solid 1-drop. So
the only time that I really played a lot of Leper Gnome was when I was playing a lot of Death Rattle Shaman. But that was back in Nax.
He still has the Death Rattle memes too, so you might see it in a Raptor deck, or I don't know, certain Death Rattle decks you may still see Leper Gnomes.
Yeah.
I mean, certain Death Rattle decks you still see fucking Undertakers, and they're not terribly good anymore. But have to wait and see. Move on to the next card, which is the Arcane Golem, which was a 3-cost 4/2, It had charge, and its battle cry gave your opponent a mana crystal. It's still a 3-cost card, but now it is a 4/4 without charge, and it still gives your opponent a mana crystal.
They fucking they shat on this card.
This card is literally unplayable. Like,
There's a possibility it might still see play
No.
in arena. No,
in
arena.
In arena. Well, shit, anything goes in arena. Like,
Because this is still a really high tempo swing, and it
Yeah,
helps you maintain control on the board.
constructed though, like no.
Yeah, there's no way this is ever gonna see play in constructed.
Constructed wise, it's one of the worst cards in the game.
Honestly, I don't think you're gonna see too much play of it in arena either. But it's just wave goodbye to this card.
It's not a half bad pick in arena though for 3-cost 4/4, just because arena's so fucking fucky.
Yeah, just wave goodbye to this card.
Yeah, it's gone. Dust it, boys. Dust it. Another neutral card we're moving on to, which is a Molten Giant, which was a 20-cost 8/8, and it was 1 less for each damage your hero had taken. So you can play it on turn. If you have 20 health, you could play it for 10 mana. If you had 10 health, you could play it for 0 mana, which was a big deal in a lot of decks. Now it is a 25-cost card. So in order to play this on fucking 0 mana, you need to be at 5 health, which is... You're pretty much dead just due to spells. You can still play it, for like 10 mana at 15 health. But it's just, I think this card will see play in certain decks, very few, but anything I'm running, I just don't see running a Molten Giant anytime soon. Even Reno decks and shit like that.
The only place that I can see this card still getting play is
Warrior, maybe? Like a Justicar Warrior type deal?
No. Reno Lock. That's really it.
Reno Lock. Yeah, it'd have to be a Reno deck.
That's really it. And I don't even see why you could justify it. There's so many other good giants. That this requires you to dangle too far on the edge, and I think it's not going to be enough of a game changer because it's not like it has charge or anything like that. I really think this is another card that Blizzard just kind of stomped into the ground and said goodbye to. I really think it's that bad now. Like I said, maybe there's some sort of combo that I'm not thinking of, but like honestly,
the other giants are much more playable than this one. Like you got it right from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's still good if you can get it off on, if you're willing to pay mana for it. If you can get it off for 5 mana at turn 10, or when you're at 10 HP, and then it's still kind of justifiable at that point. If you can get a Shadow Flame off with it, it might still be something that's a really just big board clear for Warlocks. But Warlock, once again, is still the only class that I think that this card is viable in anymore. Otherwise, it's just a piece of shit. This card
and it costs so much more to taunt it now, just because the cost of the card is 5 more. Like
right.
Yeah.
So I really think it's there with Arcane Golem. Almost just like nobody can play this card except Warlock anymore. That's it. That's just the bottom line for it.
Moving on to the last nerf card, which is another rogue card, Master of Disguise, which is a 4-cost 4/4, and its battle cry gave a friendly minion stealth. It is still a 4-cost 4/4, but now its battle cry gives a friendly minion stealth until your next turn. Just a tech change, basically, is what most people are coming. The conclusion they're drawing, just opening up space for the future, for future card designs and stuff of that.
Yeah. It's just like Blade Fury. Like I said, it just happened that Rogue had 2 cards that were really restricting game design, and
No longer.
no, yeah, it's not the case anymore. So be prepared to see some crazy Rogue shit in the future, because I don't know. This makes me kind of excited for Rogue. I've never really been too interested in Rogue as a class because I never thought it played the way that I expected the class to play. Because I played a decent amount of Rogue in World of Warcraft, and I don't know if they start really focusing on weapon cards and that kind of weird synergy, then I think Rogue has potential to be really, really cool.
I rocked a Raptor Rogue deck for months. Whenever I needed a Rogue quest,
with the death riddles,
the death riddles, the eggs, the raptors, it was pretty fun. It was kind of gimmicking, but yeah, it's everyone. Pretty much, wow, they shot on Rogue with this with these nerfs. But it's like you said, it's opening up the possibilities for the future and making sure they don't kind of pigeonhole themselves in a later expansion for certain maybe weapon cards they release, or certain minions that do stuff on the board that you can't just, if it's hidden forever, you can't kill it. It'll eventually just kill you in one turn. So, it's just opening up stuff for the future. That's what I'm getting at. What I said 2 minutes ago. All right, so that's all the nerfs. I think, Palmer, you pretty much dusted everything that got nerfed, if I'm not mistaken.
Not yet. There's a couple things that I'm still trying to decide on what I'm going to do with Ancient Allure. There's a couple of them that I'm just like, part of me just wants to dust it all because, like, regardless, if I want to craft it again, I can.
Yeah, you don't lose anything out of it. It's just you're borrowing against yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. So like, I'm betting. There are cards that I think that are still going to see play. We've already discussed it, but
yeah, like I'm keeping an owl. I'm keeping both knife jugglers. I'm probably keeping one force of nature. Like, I didn't dust everything, but I think the molten giant and the ancient allure, I was just like, I don't need these things. I'd rather have half a legendary.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to
the new cards.
Some of these new ones. What class are we starting with, man?
Druid. Starting with the Druid class, which pretty good cards this expansion. Pretty good. The first card is the Druid Legendary, which is a 4-cost 3/5. And interesting effect. A lot of cards, some that even got nerfed. We talked about you choose an effect out of 2 choices. This Legendary lets you choose both effects when you play them on the board, like with Battle Cries. And from what I read, what Ben Brody clarified on the situation was it's whatever the text on the card is, that's what happens first. So, like, if you dropped a Keeper, you would deal 2 damage, then you would silence an enemy minion. Which is pretty goddamn powerful.
Yeah.
But it has 5 health, so it has that. It's a 3/5. But it's a 3/5 for 4 mana. That's like...
I think that's just fine. Honestly.
Yeah, that's not awful.
That's like Elise stats.
I think this card will definitely see play.
Yeah.
Fun little gimmick decks. And even just as a body, it's pretty good.
No, honestly, I think this card is really, really good still. I think it's one of the reasons that Ancients of Lore still might see play. Because I think there's gonna be a lot of really interesting cards with this, man. I think people are kind of underestimating the potential. I mean, hold on. Let's just look over some of the choose one cards real quick.
I know, like, with minions, it basically combines stat. Like, I think there's a Flame Walker. You could choose to be either a 2/5 or a 5/2. Like, it lets you become a 5/5, and it's like a new card art, new card.
Like, Mark of Nature suddenly becomes a +4/+4 and Taunt.
Yeah, and Taunt.
For 3 mana. Nourish suddenly becomes gain 2 mana crystals and draw 3 cards for 5 mana.
And these are just Druid cards. These aren't even, like, neutrals.
The fucking Druid of the Claw gets charge and 2 health and Taunt for 5 mana, dude. You're throwing a 4/6 charge with 2 health and Taunt on the board. That is stupid. Cenarius all of a sudden is going to see so much play.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Dumb. It is dumb, dude.
The hard part would be keeping the card alive, but since it's only 4 costs, if you play it mid-late game, you're going to, like, get some value out of it.
Ancient of War turns into a 10/10 for 7 mana.
With Taunt.
With Taunt! With Taunt!
Yeah.
People are gonna play this card. I don't know. Once the dust settles and everything, starts migrating towards, this deck is superior to all the other ones, and ranked players start really, being shitlords, then that card won't see much play anymore. But I think I'm definitely gonna craft one of these decks. Like, if I don't get it with the packs that I'm gonna open, like, I'm definitely gonna craft one and make one of these decks, because that's so silly, man. It's so silly. If you can keep it out on the board, it's fucking great.
Yeah, I agree. I won't be crafting it, but I don't not right away anyway. I already know what I'm crafting right away, but it's definitely something I could see getting down the line just for the memes alone. And it kind of works into the next card we're going to talk about, which is Wisps of the Old God. 7 mana spell in which you choose to summon either 7/1/1s or give your minions 2/2.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit card, but with that legendary Palmer. Whatever's on your board gets 2/2 plus 7 3/3s. Well, no, I guess 7 3/3s would fill up your board. But still, it's just a whole lot of 3/3s coming at you. I don't think this will see a whole lot of play.
And there's no fucking way. This is just clearly a joke card.
Yes. It looks pretty memey, the artwork, too.
It is. It's just the Dark Whispers. That's really the only thing. Like, these are just jokes to Blizzard for some reason. They just like wisp jokes.
Ben Brody's just laughing at the wind somewhere.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just right.
Moving on to the next card. This is a Forbidden Ancient. It's a 1-cost 1/1, and its battle cry is to spend all of your mana and gain +1/+1 for each mana spent.
I think this is a great card.
Yeah, there's a lot of these cards in this set in which you spend
I think
a
this
certain
is
amount
the
of mana.
best one out of all of them.
Best?
Out of all the forbidden spell cards,
It's just
I think this is the best one.
it's so flexible and it can just work in
really
so many
is.
situations. It's
Like,
it's a pretty good card.
It is this card is really good. It's a lot better than most people are giving it credit for. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the spend certain amount of mana cards to do certain things are better than people are giving credit
Like
for.
this card is something you can throw down on turn 1 or throw down on turn 10 and have flexibility with either way. If it comes down to one of those late games where you're both drawing one card at a time, you can throw this out on turn 10 and have something confident on the board, or you can throw it out anytime early to mid game and have something competent on the board. Like, it is a constant threat. This card is going to be really, really good, especially if somehow somebody keeps a Bran on the board.
The brand memes.
Just
God, they're insane this set actually.
they really are. They really fucking are. I just pause and think about them for a little while and just let it come to you, because just summoning 20 random spells still. Just, can you imagine the memes?
Pretty sure just everyone dies.
Yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure. But who wins? Who wins?
The one who dropped the
exactly.
legendary, that's who wins.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the next Druid card, which is a 4-cost 4/5, the first Cthulhu card in the Druid set that we're looking at. And it's 4-cost 4/5, so it's basically a Yeti, and its battle cry is if your Cthulhu has 10 attack.
You didn't say the card name.
Oh, Jesus, Calaxi Amber Weaver? Something like that?
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
Yep.
But its battle cry is if your Cthulhu has 10 attack, it gains 5 health, turning into a 4/10. At first, I was really excited about this card, and then once I saw the rest of the Druid cards and the rest of the set and thought about it for half a second, it's okay, but it's not like an amazing card. Like when I first saw it, I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" And not so much anymore. But
do you understand how easy it is to get your fucking Cthulhu?
Oh yeah. Well, if turn 4, it's
attack.
not as reliable as like some of the cards that are like turn 6 or 7. But you still want to taunt it.
I don't know if you get every single Cthulhu card that you need, like in a tempo order, you can play this at any point.
If you do exactly that. But
the stats on this card are incredible, and if you can get the value out of the battle cry, this card is a serious. It's a Yeti right off the bat without the battle.
That's the only reason I think it'll still be somewhat popular, is because it's just a Yeti, and those are decent stats for 4 mana.
Yeah, I mean, Yeti by itself is borderline like competitive play, like just because of the stats. So I mean, like.
Borderline.
Yeah, borderline. It's not there really, but like it could, like
mechanical Yetis would see competitive play.
Yeah, exactly. So make a Yeti make a Yeti stat item, or make a Yeti stat card and add a battle cry to it, and it's fucking incredible. Like, I don't know. I think this card's going to see plenty of play.
Probably, but I think there are better cards for it, which we'll go into later. But yes, that's the first Cthulhu card. Next card is a Mire Keeper, which is a 4-cost 3/3, and you get to choose one to either summon a 2/2 slime or gain an empty mana crystal. I'm pretty sure we're both of the mind that this card is fucking awesome and going to be in just pretty much every Druid deck going forward in Standard, I think. Because Jesus Christ, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a very good card. I think it would be better if it summoned a 2/2 slime with taunt,
as opposed to just the 2/2 slime.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but it might be a little overpowered. The nice thing about this card is the flexibility. You can play it out, innervate it on turn 1, innervate coin, or you could, play it out at turn 8, and instead of gaining an empty crystal, you can choose between the slime. So, I just think it's a great card. I think you'll see a latte play.
Yeah, I mean, I really am kind of neutral on this one. I'm not. I I think it could see play. I think at the same time it may get skipped over because I think there's already a lot of four drops that kind of fight with this position. Um,
Keeper of the Grove, obviously.
but yes, absolutely. So I don't know. I think there's the other part is like the 3/3 is really weak, and regardless of whether it gives you two bodies, like they're both weak bodies. I think
Yeah,
it's
but
too much of
turn
a tempo
four,
loss.
turn three, turn four, and the choice between the mana crystal, it's like paying 2 for a 3/3 instead of a wild growth thing. So I think it'll definitely see play. So, all right, let's move on to
We'll
the
see.
Addled Grizzly, which is a 3-cost 2/2 beast card. After you summon a minion, give it 1/1. Yeah, I'm pretty neutral on this card.
I think that this is going to be really essential in beast decks.
Well, Beast Druid. Well, yeah, and Beast Druid it pretty much has to be run just because there are only so many
And I
Druid
think I
cards.
think beast druids are really going to be a force to be reckoned with. I
Yeah,
think
they put out some really good cards in the past few expansions, and I think some are rotating out for standard play. But yeah, even just TGT had a lot of decent Beast cards that do cool things and has synergy with Beast Druid decks. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that.
well, I mean, hold on. Let's look at this for a second here. You've got Wild Walker, which is suddenly going to be super fucking good. That's the other reason that and there's just so many four drops that compete with the position or like really anything else. If especially if you're trying to play Beast, I think Wild Walker is going to be essential in Beast decks. That's really one of the best ones. I think Druid of the Fang is going to be insane all of a sudden. Uh, you've got the synergy with Mark of Shiraj. I don't know. There's a lot of. I thought there were more Beast tags.
Some are getting rotated out that were in
Right.
GVG, like the one that turns into a 7/7 is getting rotated out.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Some other stuff, but there are still some good Beast Synergy cards from like TGT and
You've still got Savage Combatant also as a four spot competitor.
yeah, but just that rampness, dude. The rampness is unreal.
Yeah,
Druids do love to skateboard ramp over some high cost cards.
yeah.
But Addled Grizzly, Beast X will certainly see some play. Not Beast X, maybe. I mean, some possibilities, but time will tell. Next, we're moving on to the Dark Dark Arcoa. I'm gonna go with Dark Arcoa. It's a 6-cost 5/7 taunt, and its battle cry is to give your Cthulhu +3/+3 wherever it is. This is probably my favorite Druid card of this set. This card is fucking fantastic, just for the stat line alone. When you throw in the Cthulhu-ness, delicious.
Yeah, I guarantee you, with all the taunts that they're introducing, we're going to see a hell of a lot more Black Knight.
Yeah, I think Black Knight's making a comeback.
Black Knight is going to make a huge comeback.
We 2014 again. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm okay with it, dude. Black
Yeah,
Knight's one of my
I'm just
favorite
saying Black
cards.
Knights. Black Knights were cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this card fucking fantastic. You might even see it played outside of Cthulhu decks just for the fucking stat line. A 6-cost 5/7 with taunt. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Next Druid card is a 3-cost spell by the name of Feral Rage. And it's a choose one card. You can either give your hero +4 attack this turn, or you can gain 8 armor. So
Yeah.
Druid's Warriors now. I'm okay with that.
This is one of the most overpowered cards in this set, dude. Like, it is pure flexibility. This is actually a choose one card in the truest sense of Druid choose one cards, because of the fact that you can turn around and use it for board control early game, or it's essentially a fucking it's as good as what the hell is the 3-drop?
The healing touch.
Yeah, healing. Yes,
Well, it's
as
even
good.
better than that because you can be at 30 health and drop this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, this is so flexible. It makes it's one of those perfect cards at 3, and at 3 mana it's really, like, I don't know, it's fantastic, I think. Just because of the fact that it can be played literally at any point and utilized in so many different ways, and it can be so effective. So I don't think we're really going to see healing touch too much unless somebody's really trying to do, like, be able to heal minions.
No,
or
no.
really focus on spells. But
This
like,
this pretty much does replace Healing Touch.
yeah,
It's going to
absolutely.
see a lot of play.
God, it's gonna be an auto include. I think in pretty much every
Yeah, you
druid
know what?
deck.
I might say auto include too.
I really think that's gonna be the case.
Works for control or aggro. It just works for yeah.
Works for everything.
It's perfect for a Yogg deck.
Hmm.
All right, moving on to the last druid card. I cannot pronounce any of these. Mark of Yashard,
Yasharj.
Yasharsh.
Yasharj.
2-cost spell, and it gives a minion +2/+2. It's a beast. Draw a card. Beast fucking druid, boys.
That's a pretty good card.
Yeah. I don't see it being run outside of a Beast Druid deck because, there's the other card that gives 2/2 taunt. But for a Beast Druid deck, this is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Generate some card draw, give some buff, and it's only 2 cost.
I think it's really valuable for the amount that you're paying for it. So, I mean, just for the card draw alone, I think they can really help druids out, especially if you're really trying to play like a true 100% beast deck. I think this is going to be an auto include.
Oh, absolutely. You'd have to be retarded to. Good beast card. I like the good beast cards. Just moving on to my favorite beast class, the Hunter.
Oh.
I'm going to start off with the legendary, which is Princess
Oh. Hula 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 hula.
Hahuran. It's a bug lady. It's a bug lady princess.
Yeah.
It's a 5-cost 6/5 beast,
Run.
and its battle cries to trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. I'm pretty stoked for this card. It's got the beast. It doesn't do any particular thing really well, but it's got so many little things going for it. It's a 5-cost 6/5.
Savannah High Main.
Oh yeah, if that's on the board, that'd be better. That'd be amazing. But if you're saying Savannah High Main's better, it's one less mana.
No. I'm saying if Savannah High Main's on the board.
On the board, yeah, this is amazing. Even just something like getting a couple 1/1s off it, drawing getting a free card, just it's awesome. I like this card. I like it a lot.
It would work pretty well with Forlorn Stalker too. We'll talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah,
But
it'd work like with half of these cards that are in the set. Honestly, it work really well with like 3 of them.
Yeah.
And that's just in the set. But yeah, this will see play. It's not something I'm crafting right off the bat. I'm crafting 2 legendaries right when the nonsense launches, but it's definitely probably 3rd on my list. Like I'm really looking forward to.
Promise me that whenever you play this card, you'll go.
I'll just give them the wows. It'll be amazing.
While you to yourself.
Yes.
You have to call it a deck.
Next card is a giant sandworm. Pretty self-explanatory there. It's in Gears of War 2, all up in her.
Yeah, dude.
It's
a worm!
It's a giant worm! It's an 8-cost 8/8 beast. And its effect is whenever this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. I like the beast tag. I like the 8/8. I think there's better cards, especially the next one we're going to talk about. But I could see it working in some decks. But you're of the mind where you think this card's going to be pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be kind of circumstantial. I think it has the potential to be very good late game with beast decks for hunters. I also think that if it stays on the board if you play it and you're in a position where you're not going to die or your opponent can't kill you that turn, then you follow it up with a fucking Houndmaster, you have a force to be fucking reckoned with. It becomes a 10/10 and it's got taunt.
Or if you have a Rhino on the board and this thing just has charge.
Or if you've got Bestial Wrath. This card is a force to be fucking reckoned with. You can clear an entire board and still have an 8/8 if you Bestial Wrath this thing. So I think it's got a lot of potential. If you can play it behind a taunt, if you can really have a lot of board control, it's one of those win more cards. I think it's one of those things where if your beast deck snowballs, then you play this, you secured the game 100%.
Yeah.
I personally really like win more cards, so that's why I think this card's going to be good. I'm definitely good. This card alone is really not this card. There's 2 cards that are really intriguing me about playing Hunter, and this is one of them. I think there's a lot of potential in it.
Giant Sandworm. Moving on to the next card, which is also 8 cost. It's a spell, Call of the Wild. and it summons all 3 animal companions, which is a 4/4 taunt, a 2/4 give your other beast +1 attack, and a 4/2 charging rhino, which will be a 5/2 because of the buff effect. This card's amazing.
This card is fucking broken.
Hunter needed some late game nonsense. This is some fucking late game nonsense. 3 creatures on the board. One of them has charge and deals 5 damage right off the bat. Like, oof. Oof.
Yeah.
This card. This fucking card.
This card.
All beast, by the way, too, that you summon.
It's just, I think. I don't know, man. This is like hands down one of the 2 best cards that is being released.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
In this set. So I think honestly I think it's awesome. I think it's a hell of a lot of value. I don't know, like a lot of people complained about Dr. Boom, but I really liked Dr. Boom. I thought it was better than most, or not better, but like not quite as bad as everybody made it out to be. And I think that this card is kind of along that Dr. Boom line in the sense that like
it kind of just gets you back in the game.
This card is fucking broken. It is, but it's it's gonna be awesome.
I'd be okay if it was a 9 cost, maybe not 10, maybe 10. But Hunter needed something like this. Like, it just didn't have a whole terrible lot of late game, and what it did could be easily addressed. This, not so much, and it fills your board up and just charge and buffs and all beast.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's like Dr. Boom in the sense that this is the maximum amount of value you will ever squeeze out of an 8-drop. Like, Dr. Boom was the maximum amount of value.
Fucking town.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's great. It's a fucking fantastic card. We're gonna see a lot of it. I'm gonna want to fucking like punch my monitor, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Every time it gets played. So. Good on Hunter. Well done. Have fun.
It's our time, boys.
If I wasn't planning on playing a hell of a lot of Shaman, dude, I'd be a lot more pissed than I am.
Alright, moving on to the next Hunter card, which is a Infested Wolf, a 4-cost 3/3 beast, and its death rattle is just summon 2/1/1 spiders. I like this card. It's not too powerful. It's not too weak.
This card is a lot more powerful than people are giving it credit for. Those 1/1 spiders have a beast tag on them.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Just all the beasts all day.
Yeah, you're like guaranteed to pretty much have a beast on the board at all times if you're playing a beast deck, which is really good for beasts because beasts can summon more beasts and be beastly. Beasts.
I heard you like beast. Move on to the next card, which fits in with the whole death rattle thing, is a Forlorn Stalker. The 3-cost 4/2, and its battle cry is give all death rattle minions in your hand +1/+1. A lot of death rattle stuff going on with the new
Bane deaths all over the place, boys.
yeah. But even like the legendary addresses it. Well, it doesn't have a death rattle, but it interacts with death rattle. I'm really excited to try to build a deck with this card. I don't know if this is going to see a whole hell of a lot of play once the dust settles from the new expansion, but I'm really excited at the possibilities of dropping like a 4/2 with 3 mana and then just buffing half my hand.
The next 2 weeks are going to just be 100% pure tomfoolery, and I'm going to love it.
It's the best time to play Hearthstone.
It
when
really is.
Shit is just everyone's just like, fuck it, let's try some stuff, and eventually, top tier decks emerge, and we'll pretty much be at the same point we're at, a month ago, and then a new adventure will come out, and that's the idea moving forward with Blizzard. And most people are okay with it, but yeah, I'm really excited to fuck around with building a deck with this guy.
Yeah, it's going to be baller status, dude.
Very much so. Moving on to the next Hunter card is a Infest, which is a 3-cost spell. Give all minions death rattle, add a random beast to your hand.
I think this card is awful.
You've got so many good beast options in Hunter.
Yeah.
You've got so many death rattle options in Hunter.
Keep talking for a second. I'll be right back.
I don't think this card... Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think this card's going to see a whole hell of a lot of play. It might work in certain situations, but adding a beast to your hand, wasting 3 mana to do so, very unlikely you'll be able to get this off on like a full board and really just get a whole lot of shit dumped in your hand. More than likely you're going to get a couple cards off this for 3 mana, and they're beasts and they're random, so they could be other shit. They could be amazing. It's just too... It's not strong enough to play on its to stand up for itself, really. But it's possible. Like I was just saying, I'm looking forward to building a Forlorn Stalker deck. So there are some people out there that are like, "Ooh, Infest, this could be kind of fun." And Beast Synergy, Hunter class makes a bit of
Alright, I'm
sense.
back.
But yeah, I don't think it's amazing, but it might work in certain situations. But I don't really think so. But we never know. See what happens. Moving on to the next card. It is a Karen Grub. Karian Grub? Karen Grub. It's a 3-cost 2/5 beast. That's it. Just beast card, 3 mana, 2/5.
I thought this was mediocre until I thought about Houndmaster.
Always with the Houndmaster with you.
The
I
the
think this is-
Houndmaster is going to be a game changer for
Oh
these
yeah.
decks.
Well, I mean, he kind of almost always wanted them in a 100 deck anyway because there was so much beast in it. But just for the stat line alone, I'm okay with this. I might run 2 of. I'm probably going to run 2 of them in a beast hunter deck that I put together.
Absolutely, dude. It's a really good. It's super value, dude. 2/5 for 3 mana. That's really good.
And the
You're going to
beast,
stay on the board and be able to take care of a majority of what gets played, or what is already on the board.
yeah.
So I think it's going to be just fine. Honestly, there's going to be no problem playing this card at all.
Moving on to the next card is a Fiery Bat. A 1 mana cost 2/1, and its Death Rattle deals 1 damage to a random enemy. This was a nod to the Hearthstone World Champion of 2014, I found out while I watched the Hearthstone stream. Just a fun little fact. But it's a 1-cost 2/1 beast that deals a random damage to an enemy when it dies. I'm playing a Beast Hunter deck. I'm probably putting this in every variation of it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like a shittier Leper Gnome, but it's got the Beast tag.
yeah.
So you can do something with it maybe later in the game as opposed to just dropping it on turn 1.
I only think it's a slightly shittier Leopard Dome, though, and it's a 2/1. So, honestly, I think it's better than Leopard Dome. I think it's a really good card.
And it's got now it's definitely better than Leper Gnome, but it's got the Beast tag too, which Leper Gnome never, synergized really with anything.
Houndmaster! The
Houndmaster.
value!
Houndmaster. Moving on to the last Hunter card, which is a 1-cost spell titled On the Hunt. It deals 1 damage and summons a 1/1 Mastiff, which is a beast.
It is absolutely a beast.
Dragon Age boys. I think this is good. I like it. It's
It's a really good card.
yeah, it synergizes with
Ram
Hunter's
Wrangler,
Mark.
like,
It gets a
anytime you
beast
play-
on the board real cheap, so kill command. Yeah, it's a pretty good card.
Ram
Definitely
Wrangler.
Ram Wrangler.
Can you imagine summoning a giant worm off a Ram Wrangler because you played On the Hunt? That will happen to somebody, and somebody will get really, really excited that it did happen.
And someone else will get really, really upset that it happened, and we will all laugh at them.
Pretty much.
But Hunters, I think they made out pretty well this expansion. The same.
These hunters are really fucking scary.
I'm looking forward to playing it so much. It's been almost 2 years. All right, moving on to the Mage class. Starting off with the legendary Anomalous. You're the WoW nerd, Palmer. What the fuck is that?
Anomalous, bro.
Anomalous. Oh, okay. I'm just tired apparently. 8 cost 8/8, and its Death Rattle deals 8 damage to all minions. Kinda don't really have an opinion on this card because I think it's kinda who gives a fuck. But Palmer, is your opinion different than mine? Do we differ on this?
I don't think it's a bad card.
It's not a bad card. It's just not a particularly good.
I think that Frost Mages are going to be among the scariest decks to deal with.
They're already really annoying.
They're already really annoying, and they didn't get nerfed at all. There was no spell that's the core of that got nerfed at all. So we're gonna see another card soon that I think that this will have a lot of synergy, or will cause. I think there will be some synergy between this and another card that we're going to talk about in a second. That makes this card worth it. I think that this card is going to be very good in Frost Mage, because if you can keep the board frozen, play Anomalous, you're not. If you've got like Ice Block on or something, you're not really too worried about the damage coming in. So if you can swing at this, it's only an 8/6. It's not too hard to get 6 damage on your own creature, take 2 out, and then wipe the rest of the board.
Oh, it's an 8/6. I said 8/8. That was my bad. So yes, it's an 8/6 for 8.
I mean, you can even fireball it yourself if you're really desperate, but I think this card will definitely see play in some niche Frost Mage decks.
I think that's pretty much the only place I can think of that it would shine. But yeah, it could absolutely work there. So I'll give you that. I'll give that to you, Palmer.
Other than that, though, I don't really see a whole lot of potential with this card.
Eh. Moving on to the next mage card. This is the Kabbalist Tome, a 5-cost spell. Add 3 random mage spells to your hand. The RNG memes are strong with this one. But hey, it's a spell. It fills up your fucking hand with other spells. On the stream, the Whispers of the Old Gods kind of like pre-release stream they did. Frodan used a Kabbalist Tome, got 2 other spells, and another Kabbalist Tome. So you can like the RNG would have to be with you, but this could be theoretically infinite card draw, which is kind of hilarious. But it's 5 cost, but it adds 3 spells. So I kind of back and forth on this one. I think it has its merits, and I think it has its could be awfulness to it. So
I think that this card is actually it's really good, but it's really only going to see play in like really niche mage decks where they're focused on mill, because this like adds more cards to your hand, pretty much prevents a little bit of mill going on, so you always have like a bit of a response. So this is really like a super duper late game card.
yeah, you don't want to play this on turn 5. That'd be
Yeah.
bad for you.
But that Frost Mage deck that I'm talking about, I can see some use there, because that'll kind of give you answers to keep things frozen. You know, it could very easily give you a kind of cold, any sort of anything really. It could give you a shatter. Jesus Christ, if it gives you a shatter, dude.
Flame Strike, even something like Frostbolt in combination with a couple other spells. It's just it could give you like 3 Arcane Blasts, but it could give you possibilities.
They're endless.
Pretty much. Moving on to the next mage card, a 0-cost spell by the name of Forbidden Flame. And this is another one of your spend all your mana cards. Spend all your mana, deal that much damage to a minion. I think it's one of the weaker ones of the spend all your mana cards, but again, maybe it could see some play in certain decks just for the versatility of it. Good early, mid, late game removal, but it'd be overpowered. But it'd be cool if you could attack the hero with that spell, but that would be probably stupidly overpowered because 0-cost Fire Blast. But I think it might see some play. Maybe. Palmer, thoughts go. Palmer, go thoughts.
I'm really gonna have to wait and see on this one. I really don't have enough opinion on this. I mean, like, I really don't think it's that good. But
that's the general consensus, is that it's kind of crappy.
Yeah, but at the same that being said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody found a use for it. So I'm on the fence with this card.
Fence confirmed. Moving on to the next mage card is a Servant of Yogg-Saron. It's a 5-cost 4/5, and its battle cry is to cast a random spell that costs 5 or less, and its targets are chosen randomly.
All right, when Trump revealed this fucking card, he tried to paint the best fucking picture he could. And,
Trump? No. See what I did there?
And he backed it up with some iffy stats that Crip proceeded to shit on, because Crip shits on things.
It's just in his nature. He poops and defecates.
Yeah. I gotta agree with Crippy. I gotta agree.
Just bad card is what you're getting at.
Yeah. Really
just
bad.
The stat line
card,
itself is just.
This card could lose you the game way more times than it could probably help you win it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Might see some play though, but probably not. Some decks it'll see some.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Some Yogs are on decks just for the fun factor. It'll probably see some play, but outside of that, yeah. Moving on to the next mage card, the Demented Frostcaller. It's a 4-cost 2/4. After you cast a spell, freeze a random enemy.
This card is broken as fuck. And,
really?
And anybody that says otherwise is fooling themselves.
Like, Flame Waker was just so much. Or was it Flame Waker?
Yeah.
Yeah, the card was just so much better. Probably absolutely see play in freeze decks just because it freezes stuff and it interacts really well with the card coming up with. And it just slows your enemy's tempo. Like, it does a lot of things, but it can also just kind of not really do anything. I don't know. I think it'll see some play, but I don't think it'll be like a standard in freeze decks.
I think it's an incredible card.
Incredible card. You think it'll be like a standard in freeze decks?
I think it will result in better freeze decks.
A bold statement, sir. Bold statement. We'll have to. Time will tell, I suppose.
I think Shatter synergizes way too well with this thing.
It's yeah, but there's also a chance you could like randomly freeze a 1/1. But Shatter is just it synergizes so well with so many cards. But we'll get to that in a second. Next mage card up on the list is a Cult Sorcerer. Jesus Christ. It's a 2-cost 3/2. Gives +1 spell damage, and after you cast a spell, give your Cthulhu +1/+1. I don't know. As a Cthulhu card, it's pretty. Who gives a fuck? Honestly, like unless you can get it out mid game and cast some cheap spells. It does have this +1 spell damage benefit, but just it's only got 2 health. It's not going to last on the board very long. You're not going to get a whole lot of Cthulhu buffs out of it most of the time, unless you run into that.
Man, like if you have the coin, play that shit on turn 2. Coin, arcane missiles.
Arcane missile. I guess maybe you might see some. Actually, I don't know. I don't even know if arcane missiles have really been making a comeback. I was thinking more like turn 2.
I see arcane missiles all the fucking time. Are you kidding me?
I haven't seen many. No. But something like Cult Sorcerer, Coin, Frostbolt on turn 3 would be really strong. And just little spells like that, little removal spells early game would be pretty strong. I just see this thing dying to many, many things. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be targeted. Definitely going to be targeted. But
Mage
you can almost treat it. You can almost treat it like a 2-mana 3/2 with taunt, because somebody is going to kill that.
Yeah, it's a soft taunt card. It's something your opponent doesn't want to leave on the board. But it'll definitely see play in like early on for Mage Cthulhu decks. I don't know if it's a card that'll stick around, but it's not awful.
I think it will do fine.
Time will tell. So we're both pretty. That's all right. Moving on to next card, Faceless Summoner, which is a 6-cost 5/5. And its battle cry summons a random 3-cost minion. This is the, I guess, 6-mana Shredder we're at now. For Mage only.
Yep.
A pretty fucking good card.
Yep.
You want to run this card if you're running just about any Mage deck. Because value. Get this card. Moving on.
Yep.
Twilight Flamecaller, which is a 3-cost 2/2. And its battle cry deals 1 damage to all enemy minions. Again, really strong Mage card in my opinion. It's
okay.
It's a 2/2 body that does Arcane Explosion. Pretty good early game.
Actually, yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. And then moving on to the last Mage card, Shatter, which is something we kind of mentioned. It is a 2-cost spell. It destroys a frozen minion. I've seen the kind of a lot of different reaction to this card on the interwebs. A lot of it's very strong, it's very powerful. A lot of people think it won't be playable. I'm with Palmer in the fact that this card's going to see some play. It's probably going to be in every single freeze.
This card will see a shitload of play.
I think it's pretty, like a lot of people are like, oh, you have to reliably like freeze the minion you want to kill, or you have to, waste mana freeze. It's 2 mana cost. And Demented Frostcaller, the memes, the hilarity could be there. But even just Frost Novaing the board just to slow stuff down. This is just a 2-mana spell you can throw out and kill a fucking giant with.
Let's look at all the ways that Mage has to freeze things. You have one mana for Ice Lance.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 mana for Snow Chugger. You have 4 mana for...
not in Standard.
No, Snow Chugger is in Standard, sir. Check.
Oh,
Check if you don't believe
no,
me.
you're right. You
have Cone of Cold for 4 mana that freezes 3 cards.
And deals damage.
And deals damage. You've got the Demented Frostcaller, which can freeze anything from any spell that you fucking play, because this card is OP, and if you don't listen to me, you're silly. Anyways.
I think you're a little crazy on that.
Blizzard.
All right, I'll accept that response.
Mages have a lot of ways to freeze things, and if they can keep... Oh, and we didn't... Wait.
I think you said Frostbolt and the Frost Nova. I think there's something else. But yes, mages have many ways to freeze things. And this spell is just 2 mana cost. Like, it's so cheap. So you can combine it with pretty much any other of the freeze spells, mid-game even.
Wait, why is Frost Nova out of Standard?
No, it's a Standard card. It's the basic set. Maybe that's why you can't seize it. I don't know. I'm not looking at your screen. It's 3 mana cost, freeze all enemy minions.
What? I don't know. It's just glitching out. It's not pulling up Frost Nova at all for me.
No, it is a card. It is a thing. And works really well with Shatter.
Yeah, it does. Anyways, moving on.
Moving on to the Paladin class. First card up, the legendary, is the Reverse Rag. Ragnaros Light Lord. 8 mana cost, 8/8. At the end of your turn, restore 8 health to a friendly damaged character. It's an 8/8 body, and it has the potential to heal a big minion or you for 8 health. But it also has the potential to heal 8 health to a 2/2 minion that's taken 1 damage. Because it's random. Not decided on this. I think it's a cool card. I don't know if it'll see a hell of a lot of play, but I think it'd be really fun to run like 2 Rags in your deck, just because you could have 2 Ragnaroses in your deck now. But pretty neutral on it overall. I don't think it's going to dominate the meta, but you might see it from time to time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was looking for a card when you were fucking.
I'm just at this point. I'm just assuming you're pulling up like Chatterbait or something, and I'm just talking.
I was looking for Frost Nova because I couldn't find it.
Did you find it, Palmer?
No.
Really? That's weird.
Wait, no.
Okay. Anyway,
One of the filters I had on was.
that's what I figured. The filters are new and look weird, and it's different. Next Paladin card is a Vilefin Inquisitor for the Emperor. 1 cost, 3/1 Murloc. Battle cry, your hero power becomes a summon a 1/1 Murloc. Murloc Paladin decks, this is really good.
They would be if, they didn't take out the fucking.
Well, I said it would be really good for Murloc Paladin decks.
Yeah.
But any other deck. But yeah, Old Murkai being out of standard. Anyway, a lot of the burst damage, fuck you, you're dead, even if you're at 50 health Paladin decks are gone. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
if
you're yeah, but if you're gonna play a Murloc deck as a Paladin, you're probably gonna want this card. But aside from that, why the fuck would you want this card?
Yeah.
Moving on. Forbidden Healing. 0 cost spell. Spend all your mana. Restore twice that amount to your hero or a minion. I don't hate this card, but I don't... pretty iffy on it, honestly. It's another one of those cards. Spend a certain amount of mana to heal. Do a certain amount of thing.
Yeah, I think this is one of the weakest.
Yeah.
Forbidden cards.
Yeah, I really don't see this suddenly dominating the meta. You might see it from time to time.
I think there's too much other stuff competing that has either built-in heal or gives you card draw in addition, or
Yeah,
there's just it's not that good.
you might see it from time to time. I wouldn't expect to run into it often.
I wouldn't either.
Right, moving on to the next card is a Steward of Darkshire. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever you summon a 1 health minion, give it Divine Shield.
Divine Shield decks incoming, boys.
I see. Yeah, suddenly. Oh, what the fuck is that card? Blood Knight? No, not Blood. Was it Blood Knights? Eat Divine Shields and gain 3. Yeah. Suddenly those will be a thing, but not really. It's all right, I guess. It's not amazing. Probably see some play somewhere. In Hobgoblin decks, this will be amazing, I guess.
I think it's going to see a lot of play.
Because it's not when you play a minion; it's when you summon a minion. So if you hit the button as Paladin, your summon minions have Divine Shield. That's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I mean, be prepared for the Steward of Darkshire turn 8 stand against darkness plays. That will be a thing.
And then the Rallying Blade, which is the next card right after it, which is a 3 mana cost, 3/2 or 3 attack, 2 swings. Its battle cry gives your minions with Divine Shield +1/+1. So yeah, you play Steward of Darkshire, throw out some stuff on the next turn. Turn after that, throw out a blade. You have a weapon, and your minions are buffed, and yada yada yada. It's all right for a weapon, I guess. Paladins do have a lot of Divine Shield minions that can drop on the board, or minions that can give other minions Divine Shields, so this might see some play. Maybe. 3/2 stat line isn't completely awful to begin with, so.
I think it will with people who are definitely trying to make Divine Shield decks.
Oh yeah, it's like an auto-occlude if you're trying to do a Divine Shield deck.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, honestly, it's a really good weapon.
Yeah, just the stats alone are okay. probably be seeing it a good amount in Arena, I would suspect.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be a really that'll be a really good choice. I think, regardless of whether or not you've got any minions. I mean, if you've got any minions with Divine Shield in Arena, it just ups the value of the card.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next card, which is a Selfless Hero. A 1-cost 2/1. Its Death Rattle gives a random friendly minion Divine Shield. Really pushing those Divine Shield
Divine
memes.
Shields, boys.
A 1-cost 2/1 just for the stats alone isn't awful, so I think this will see play.
Divine Shield, boys.
Divine Shield, boys. Moving on to the next card, Stand Against Darkness, which is a 5-cost spell that summons 5 1/1 Silver Hand recruits.
Divine Shield, boys.
That's pretty much the only way I would see this card getting played. I think it is way too slow. 1/1s are way too easy to get rid of.
I think it's going to be what keeps aggro paladins alive. Now that they've lost Muster for battle, they can still play a lot of early game, and this is a pretty
Mustard for battle was so much better than this, though.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but it still gives you something that's buffable in aggro pally. I think with Divine Strength, which is a card we're going to discuss here in a second, there's some potential there. I mean, any Blessing of Kings, Divine Strength, like all the following turn. Actually, you can do that in the same turn.
Yeah, later in the game. I don't know, just a bunch of weenies on the board.
But weenies with Divine Shield, Tim.
Fuck your Divine Shield memes, sir.
They're essentially 2/2s at that point. That's basically giving you 5 2/2s.
Now, but Palmer will eat all the Divine Shields and drop a 28/28 on the board. What will you do then?
Just
Moving on. Next card, A Light in the Darkness. A 2-cost spell. Discover a minion. Give it +1/+1. I like this card. I think it's fun. Will it see play? Maybe. But I think it's a very fun card.
I think it'll see plenty of play. That Discover mechanic's really popular, and it gives you something that's flexibility, or adds to flexibility with aggro paladins. Because I really think that they're going to keep aggro paladins as a thing. There's still too
People
much.
do love to smorf the paladin class.
So
I think it's just a good card. 2-cost, discover a minion, give it a little buff.
yeah.
Okay. And the last card of the Druidness, Divine Strength, which is a 1-cost spell. Give a minion +1/+2. I think it's really good for the stat line.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I see a lot of paladin decks running 2 of these without thought.
Aggro Paladin decks will be running this.
Even mid-range and control paladins, it's a good spell. It's a cheap spell.
You're gonna see Blessing of Kings and stuff still.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just as a cheap spell that you can throw out on something that has taunt, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Moving on to the priest class.
Yeah.
Priest legendary. Harold Vol. Volages Vol. Volages.
Did we do Ragnaros Lightlord?
Yeah, he was our first one. All the legendaries of the
I
first.
was looking for the Frost.
Yes, you were the Frost Noble memes you couldn't find. Herald whatever the fuck. 6 mana, 5/5. Its Battlecry summons a 1/1 copy of each of your other minions. Pretty cool. You really want to play this under certain circumstances that are kind of going to be a pain in the ass to set up. But it's a 6 mana 5/5 that has an interesting Battlecry. Depending on what you have on the board, can be amazing, or it can just add a couple 1/1s to your board.
Sargeras value, boys.
Yeah, even just like a couple of the new cards, or just certain Death Rattle cards. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I don't think it's amazing, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't really think we're gonna see a whole lot of play with it.
Nah, but from time to time we'll come across a meme deck with it because the memes on that is delicious.
Yeah, dude, they are world class.
Next priest card, Embrace the Shadow, 2-cost spell. This turn, your healing effects deal damage instead. I feel like there's already a card for this, and it drops a minion on the field, and it has a halfway decent stat line. Don't know if this card will see play.
I think it will, dude. OTK priest decks are going to be a big thing.
Yeah, but it's 1 mana. Isn't it 1 more mana cost for the what the fuck is it? A ruby something or other?
No, dude, that costs 4 mana.
Is it 4 mana?
Mm-hmm.
Still 4 mana for a 3/5 that does the exact same thing. Maybe you'll see it, but I think.
I think we're going to see a lot of OTK decks with priests that are just going to whittle you down to 15. Because if they can get you down to 15, you're dead, immediately dead.
I don't know if that card will be in this, but time will tell.
Yeah, we'll
Brace the
find out,
shadow.
I guess. I mean, all it would take is our flash heals, honestly.
Oh, it was 1 cost. It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even like Mind Blast is only 2 costs, and it's pretty much
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same.
yeah. So they can whittle. All they have to do is play this card, 2 flash heals and 2 mind blasts, and you're dead. That's 20
That's
damage.
very specific
That's it.
cards you
But
need in your
it's
hand.
gonna. I mean, if
It's
they
yeah, no, I'm with you. That burst is
throw down a
insane.
Malagos, oh my god.
Or if you have a Prophet Velen,
Actually,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
Prophet Valen, that would be
Prophet Velen
essential.
playable, new Doctor 7 calling it.
It could be, man.
I changed my mind, Palmer. This card's amazing.
Yeah, man, this card is gonna be really fucking good, man. Really fucking good. You're gonna see a hell of a lot of it. We're gonna see a hell of a lot of priests that are just gonna deal massive amounts of damage to you over 1 turn, and you're just gonna be left like, just what the fuck, because of that card.
I have my sexy dragons for that, Palmer. My sexy and dragons. New priest card. Next priest card, rather. Forbidden Shaping, 0 cost spell. Spend all your mana, summon a random minion that costs this much. I think this is one of the worst spend a certain amount of mana to a certain amount of thing cards.
But yeah, I mean, it could be good in arena, but that's it.
Yeah, just so many battle cries you want triggered. Maybe you get a good death rattle card, but it's just, I don't know. Maybe it'll do something, but probably not. Moving on to the next priest card, Twilight Dark Mentor. I almost read that as Dank Meaner. I'm tired apparently. It's a 5 cost, 6/5 battle cry. Give your Cthulhu. If your Cthulhu has at least 10 attack, restore 10 health. Not bad, not amazing, but getting your Cthulhu up to 10 by turn 5, not impossible. Maybe kind of easy, but it's something you kind of want to hold on to the late game anyway. And by that point, your Cthulhu is likely to have 10 attacks. So suddenly there's 10 health restored on your hero, and it's a 6/5 body for 5. It'll see play in Priest Cthulhu decks if that becomes a thing, which I'm not entirely sure it will. But if that becomes a thing, this will see play.
Yeah, I think Priest Cthulhu are among the weakest Cthulhu class. There's that one turn kill deck is going to be the featured priests. They have too much control. They have too much. This is gonna, Cthulhu is kind of like an afterthought for priests. I think they're going to be one of the few class really not experimenting too much with Cthulhu. I mean, we'll see them in the beginning, but when the dust settles, I don't think Cthulhu for priests is going to be like viable.
Yeah, this one particular dragon coming up. Oh man.
I mean, there's a hooded acolyte too that's coming up, but
yeah, but the dragon is still very strong in priest, and that'll definitely outweigh Cthulhu, I think. But yeah, Cthulhu card for priest. Next card, the Shifting Shade, a 4 cost 4/3. It's death rattle. Copies a card from your opponent's deck and adds it to your hand. It's kind of like a shredder, but instead of dropping something on the board, you steal something from your opponent's hand, or deck. I think it'll see play, without doubt.
yeah, I think it's got potential.
Like it's a good card even without like a death rattle centric deck or a steel deck. It's a good card. Add something to your hand.
I think it's better than Thoughtsteel, honestly.
Yeah, because the creature on the board.
It gives you a body, and
Yeah.
it's it's good stats for 4.
Next priest card, spell Shadow Word Horror, with a hilarious bit of art to it. Destroy all minions with 2 or less attack.
I think this is too niche for this meta. I don't think
It's very anti-aggro, but honestly, like you probably won't need that card in your deck to deal with aggro. There are other cards to deal with aggro. I don't think I see a whole lot of play.
Not at all. This is one of the worst cards I think they got released. I mean, I think maybe in the future, if they move the meta back to something super quick, then maybe. But I don't think it's that good at all.
Yeah, it's 4 mana cost, destroys all minions, not just your enemies. So, yeah. Moving on to the next priest card, Darkshire Alchemist, 5 cost 4/5. Battlecry, restore 5 health to your hero. Or no, I'm sorry, it's just restore 5 health, so it can be minion or hero. That's okay.
Yeah, it's mediocre. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's nothing terribly good. You might see it in certain decks here or there, but yeah.
I think you'll see it a pretty good amount in Arena, but other than that.
Yeah, it's a great arena card. Next priest card, Power Word Tentacles. Love the name. Love the art. I love everything about this card. Well, not everything about the card, but I
think it costs too much.
Yeah, it's a 5 cost, give you a minion 2/6. That's great, but for 5 mana, like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I just don't think it's a good card at all.
It's Power Word Shield. Was it 1 mana, gives your creature +2 health and draws a card. This is just 2/6 for 5 mana. Might be good in certain decks. It'd be great to like get this on something with a taunt, or do this on something and then give it taunt. But
I just think Valence Chosen is just immense. It's just
well, that's
so much
rotating out of
better.
standard.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
But there are other priest cards that do similar things.
Are you
It's just
sure?
yeah, it was a GVG.
Oh, you're right.
But yeah, it's too expensive, honestly. And that brings us to our last priest card, Hooded Acolyte, a 4-cost 3/6. Whenever a character is healed, give your Cthulhu +1/+1.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool for priest Cthulhu decks, but as we pointed out, priest Cthulhu decks probably aren't really going to be a thing.
Yeah,
You have way better options as a priest player than Cthulhu.
Absolutely. The bottom line for it. It's a really good card.
And that's the bottom line.
I think the people that initially experience or experiment with a Cthulhu deck on Priests are going to be happy with it, like with the first couple of weeks. And then I don't think we're going to see Cthulhu deck on Priests at all ever again.
They're just going to realize, hey, I should just play dragons. I'll have fun. That brings us to the Rogue class. Rogue Legendary. Zeral Poison Mind. Zerail Poison Mind. 4 costs 3/2. Its Battle Cry and Death Rattle adds a random toxin to your hand. And these toxins, where I don't have them in front of me. They range from deal 2 damage to give a friendly minion stealth. There are 5 of them in total. I actually don't have them all in front of me. It's basically the mech cards from that one Death Rattle mech, or Mechanical Yeti.
Yeah, pretty much. There's one that adds stealth.
There's stealth damage.
Yeah, there's a few other ones as well.
I think it's all right for a 4 mana 3/2 because it just gives you 2 other cards and they can be awesome.
Yeah,
But they can also give you 2 cards that'll be awful, and you spent 4 mana for a 3/2 that gets killed the next turn. So I think it'll see some play here and there,
maybe.
especially with not Bran, fucking Rogue Legendary. The combo decks, basically. Combo rogue decks. If that's still a thing, this card will be in it.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it, I guess.
Next card is a Blade of Cthulhu. A 9 mana cost 4/4, which just looking at that, you're like, what? But its battle cry is huge. It destroys an enemy minion and adds its attack and health to Cthulhu's.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good card.
Yeah, you can knock out a giant and buff the hell out of your Cthulhu.
It's basically like an assassinated built into a body, plus you get stats for Cthulhu.
Yeah, plus the Cthulhu benefit.
So I don't know. I think it's a really good fucking card.
Yeah. if you're running a Cthulhu rogue deck, you're absolutely putting 2 of these in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Without question. Next rogue card, Shadowcaster. 5 mana 4/4 battle cry. Choose a friendly minion, add a 1/1 copy of that card to your hand, and it costs 1 less. Or no, I'm sorry, it only costs 1 mana. Pretty good potential there. Like you couldn't really combo it really well with like a Blade of Cthulhu unless it survived. But a lot of little weenie cards, I think this card will work really well with.
Yeah. There's the whole like brand thing.
Yeah, you could do that in the same turn.
Yeah.
You could play 2 brands. I don't know why you would, because you'd have no mana, but you could theoretically play 2 brands.
See, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And if you can get fucking pandas in there, you can just like a panda the Shadowcaster. Just
it'll be the new like Kel'Thuzad thing, except it's brands.
Yeah, and it just oh god, heaven forbid you get what's her name? Sylvanas.
Ooh, yeah.
So 1/1 Sylvanas every fucking turn.
Just laughing at you.
Just Kappa all day, every day.
But it's really good battle cry, and it's only it's only 5 for 4/4. So even if it doesn't work out, it's not completely awful, but it's not good. But yeah, I think it'll see some play. Moving on to next card, Thistle Tea.
Thistle Tea. This card is fucking trash.
Yeah, 6 mana cost, draw a card, add 2 extra copies to your hand. It's 6 mana cost for drawing a card. Even if you get the extra cards or the duplicates of it, it's just 6 mana cost for drawing a card. Like it's
there's no advantage to playing this over Gang Up.
Yeah,
because Gang Up at least lets you choose what you want to do. You know, like Thistle Tea, you don't know what your next card's gonna be. If there were cards that allowed you to manipulate the top card from Rogue, then I think Thistle Tea would be fucking great, but there's nothing like that currently, so
yeah,
there's really no point in it.
Next Rogue card, however, pretty good. Undercity Huckster. It's a 2-mana 2/2 death rattle. Add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. Solid body for 2 mana, and it gives you a card.
That's not bad.
Pretty good. I think it'll see play.
Yeah, I honestly don't play a lot of Rogue, so I'm not really sure about how this is going to work. I think, you know,
If you're playing Death Rattle Rogue, you're putting this card in your deck.
yeah. I mean, it's good. Well, time will tell as to whether or not it will be like crazy. But I think it has the potential to be
Yeah,
crazy.
I'd go with that too.
But could you imagine playing a paladin and getting fucking Tyrion off this thing?
Or just getting even something like a execute or just some type of removal spell.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Any
just
like there's so
versatile.
yeah, exactly. It's just the possibilities are endless. Moving on to the next rogue card, Journey Below. 1 mana cost spell. Discover a Death Rattle card.
It's auto include in Death Rattle decks,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know if you put it in anything outside of that. Maybe you could get a really awesome Death Rattle card for 1 mana. But yeah, Death Rattle decks, you will absolutely see this card.
Yep.
Moving on to the next rogue card, which is a pirate. Arg, exciting. South Sea Squidface. 4 mana, 4/4 pirate, and its Death Rattle gives your weapon +2 attack.
Every time of this, all I can think of is Squidward on a Hearthstone card.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's not a rifle he's holding; it's a fucking clarinet, Tim.
That's all I see is Squid. Squidward card, must craft.
Yeah.
It's a pirate card. That's cool. It's Death Rattle. It's okay. It's not awful.
Yeah, I honestly don't think the card's that great.
No, it'll see play in pirate decks because pirate decks pretty much have to run pretty much all pirates. But outside of that, yeah, I don't think you'll see much play. Next card up is a rogue spell by the name of Shadow Strike. 3 mana cost, deal 5 damage to an undamaged character. This card is dope and probably will be auto include in every rogue deck. I think. Rogue deck, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good. It's a better version of Backstab.
Yeah, it costs the 3 mana, but 5 damage, big deal. You can
Yeah, I
weaken
think
a
it's
big minion
really-
to the point where you can kill it, or you can just flat out kill a lot of shit.
You
So.
can kill most things, honestly.
So, yeah, I guess I do. I play very top heavy decks, so I'm just thinking like that's not going to kill my Nose Dormu, but most people don't run Nose Dormu, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good card. I think it'll be pretty much every rogue deck going forward. This brings us to our last rogue card, Bladed Cultists. Say 1 cost, 1/2, and its combo is gain 1/1. I think you'll see this in a lot of rogue decks as well.
Yeah, I think this.
I'm not thinking of like dropping it on turn 1. I mean, if you're really lucky, coin Bladed Cultist, but just as a mid-game card, even just for 1 mana.
That hand would be the dream, dude.
Yeah, that hand would be the dream. But even just as a mid-game, like dropping it on turn 4 after playing a 3-drop as well, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a 2/3.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, pretty good. But yeah, I think that'll see some play as well. Do you want to do the shaman class since you're so hyped for it?
Oh my god, guys! Oh my god! All right.
Palmer likes shaman. If you haven't caught on.
We'll start with the card that single-handedly made me change my Steam account into a meme.
Which is something you never do. It doesn't like rotate throughout the year or anything.
Halaziel the Ascended. All right, boys. This card. All right. I really tried to make control overload shamans a thing. I've tried to make them a thing for a really long time. I've actually had a lot of success with them. I haven't really been able to. The highest I got was rank 8 with one, and I haven't been able to get past that cusp. But I think that this card is a game changer for that. There are just so many good control spells that shamans have, especially now.
And a lot of them are cheap.
And they're so cheap, and they will give you so much health. It's basically will afford me enough time to drop Malagos, and then just finish things off. And if this card doesn't get killed, I mean, it's basically a 5 mana 4/6. Whenever your spells deal damage, restore that much health to your hero. But it's stats.
It has
alone,
taunt. It has
stats
taunt.
alone are fucking fantastic. But yes, this card has taunt.
It's a soft taunt.
It will die as soon as you play it. So it's one of those things like you got to kind of wait. You've got to hold on to it and then cast as much as you can when you play them. But I don't.
You can burst heal yourself quite a bit with 5 mana.
Yeah, you really can. You're gonna be and oh man, just
Even with like 4 mana, 3 mana.
all the overload unlock now that we have with Shaman. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that new card. Oof.
Oh, ooh, Tim. Ooh, no longer having to worry about overloaded mana crystals is something that I'm very excited about.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. This legendary card is amazing. It's awesome.
this is a game changer. This is one of the best cards I think that's been released in this set. I would put it
Shaman
in the
doesn't
top
have a
five.
whole hell of a lot of heal for the hero itself, so yeah.
We do, but it's really unreliable.
Oh, you're
Uh,
talking about the heal 7 or 14.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
healing touch, I think.
and
No?
so no,
No?
that's the druid spell. Um,
Oh yeah, you're right.
but yeah, that card is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation with it when Shaman gets released, and I would expect that it will stay a permanent placeholder in Shaman decks. Next, we've got Hammer of Twilight. This card is also absolutely fucking incredible. It's 5 mana for a 4/2 weapon that has a death rattle of summoning a 4/2 elemental. You are basically paying 5 mana for 12 damage in stats.
But Palmer, that belongs in a museum.
All right, so they draw one card. Like
Mill decks required. No,
yeah.
this is a good. I don't think it's like amazing, but it's definitely a good card.
I think it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Stat
Shaman's
wise, it's great. Yeah.
yeah, Shaman's really needed something like this, and like I said, it summons
What
that.
the fuck are you have Doomhammer? What the fuck you need something like this?
Because
Fuck out here with your
I
shit.
think Doomhammer's while it's an effective card, I think it's a burst damage card rather than a
Oh,
reliable weapon. Like you don't want to swing at
Yeah,
minions
you don't
with
want to swan
Doomhammer
it,
is
swing
not.
into a taunt with it, especially.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the greatest feeling on the face of the fucking earth. But this right here, this changes things pretty significantly. So I've heard some people rag on the mana cost for it, but personally, I think it's really balanced. I think
Yeah,
if it
it's
was any
expensive,
lower, it would
but
be
it
way
does a
too.
lot for you.
Yeah, I think it was any lower, it would be way too OP, way too OP.
Probably.
And it's I don't know, it's just a fantastic card. I think it's a great placement for it. Eternal Sentinel is the next one.
Probably one of the best cards of this expansion.
Yeah, this card is incredible. No longer do we have to worry about what is it, Lava Burst? No, that's
Lava Shock, something. No, maybe. God damn it, you're the shaman player.
yeah,
Shit together, Palmer.
yeah, Lava Shock. That's it.
Lava Shock. Okay.
So no longer do we have to worry about Lava Shock, which was really kind of an unreliable spell.
It's not
there
awful
were,
though. Like it's
there's a lot of times when I had to play Lava Shock just to survive, rather than play it and get the value out of it that I needed. Being able to have a 3/2 minion on the board is absolutely incredible, and getting that unlock, I think Jesus man, it's so
for
much
2
better.
mana.
It's so much better than Lava Shock is. It's so
For
much
2
better.
mana, it's just insane.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely crazy, and I think it's fantastic in every sense of the word. And I think it's going to be one of the cards that makes mid-range Shaman absolutely explosive. Absolutely explosive.
This is beneficial in pretty much every shaman deck.
Yeah, this is going to be an auto include in a lot of things. I'm really excited to play this in an overload control deck, and I'm really excited to play this in a tempo deck. The thing that I think it makes suddenly it makes Earth Elemental an incredible card.
Yeah.
I mean, Earth Elemental I thought was going to be incredible when Lava Shot came around, but with Eternal Sentinel, like you're throwing it in front of basically you just play Earth Elemental turn 5, you get 3 locked crystals, you have enough to play Eternal Sentinel the next turn, unlock the crystals, and you've got a 7/8 in front of it, with taunt. That's so good. That's so good. You can't like there's
You can also on turn 7 drop two creatures on the board, including a big 7/8 taunt, and not deal with overload the next turn. Like
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah, it's
the card is so good.
and like I said, it works in like pretty much every shaman deck. Like most shaman decks, you're gonna run into overload as a thing. And for 2 mana cost, a 3/2 body, like yeah, you put this in your fucking deck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Thing from Below is the next one. This card I also think is really, really good in totem decks.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
I think it makes totemic and uh, I, what's the other one? God damn it.
To the 3/4 and then the 3/2. It summons another totem.
Thunder Bluff,
Oh, Underbluff.
um, and the other one. Oh, actually, I guess he's cycled out.
If you're going for a specific totem, like
Oh
if you're
no,
building a
Tuskar, yeah,
totem deck,
Tuskar Totemic
if you're building a totem deck, you're putting this in it.
and
And honestly, you might even consider putting it in not totem decks.
Draenei Totem Carver is another really synergistic card with that. So I think all of a sudden we're going to start seeing some legitimate experimentation with totem decks. I don't think that there's enough there to make them really viable, but I think they're going to be fun decks.
They're going to be much better than they were before.
Yeah, they're not going to be, like I said, they're not going to be that viable for competitive play, but man, oh man, are they going to be fun to play now. Throw in Vitality Totems, Flame Tongues, all the other stuff. You're really starting to look at something that has some serious potential to it, honestly. Throw down a Bloodlust, too. You could be a force to be reckoned with. I wish they would change Justicar's ability to summon 2 totems instead of pick your own totem. I'd rather just
I
get 2
didn't know that
totems.
was a thing till recently. That's hilarious.
I think that would. Jesus Christ, could you imagine that? Just 2 totems left and right for the rest of the game, just thunder bluffing everything, and
They're always taunt.
yeah, that would be fucking OP. But yeah, absolutely incredible card. Also, I think they're really just making it so Shaman is starting to come into its own, and they're making all these things that people have been dreaming of being viable, like actually viable. And they'll only continue to do so, I think, as they release more cards. So next we've got Master of Evolution. This card is super broken, and I really think that it's gonna get nerfed.
Nah, I'll see it get nerfed.
I think it will, honestly. It's way too good. It's basically you can like play a turn 3 minion, use it to kill something else, play this on turn 4, and your minion's back to full health. Master of Evolution's 4 mana for a 4/5 battle cry. Transform a friendly minion into a random one that costs 1 more. It gives you full board control.
I don't like. There's a good chance that it could transform into something that's shitty than what you initially had. But the fact that it's a Yeti body, it's a 4-cost 4/5. You will absolutely see these things.
Right.
And just it's hilarious. Like this evolution thing that they're doing with Shaman with this expansion. It's fucking hilarious. Like I hope that these decks become a thing.
Yeah, the dream for this card would be swing with your 3 mana creature, kill something else, get it down to 1 health, and then all of a sudden you have 2 4 mana bodies on the board that have increased stats. There's a lot of really good 4 mana drops.
Well, there's also like the thing from below, the last card we just did. It's a 6-cost card. Like there's a lot of cards, this expansion especially. They're pretty high cost, but their effect kind of depends on something else. But
Yeah.
you evolve that thing into a 7-drop, like all of a sudden you got a fucking war golem.
Yeah, especially
when you had
if
a
you can get
5/5.
them from below out early. Like if you can really reduce its cost. Like if you're just summoning totems left and right. Like holy shit, Master of Evolution that thing the next turn. Oh my goodness! Suddenly you've got a 7 mana creature on the board, and you're just spamming all the greetings.
All the wows. But yeah, this card will absolutely see play, as will the next card.
Yeah. Let's see what else we've got here. Evolve. That's the next card. Continuing along with the theme. Evolve is a 1 mana spell. It's a rare card. Transform your minions into random minions that cost 1 more. All right. I just. Ooh.
Someone pointed out dropping Onyxia, dropping a 8/8 dragon and filling your board with 1/1s, and then evolving. How hilarious that would be, because you could do that on 1 turn on turn 10 because it's a 9-cost dragon, then you evolve everything. Yeah. And then someone pointed out that there's an 8% chance you pull out a Doomcaller. Doomcaller?
Yeah, that would.
For every 1/1. So there's a good chance you're just going to immediately kill your board, basically. But yeah, I think these evolve memes are so dank, and I'm so in with them.
Yeah, dude, I think they're great. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
especially in totem decks.
Yeah, evolve the totems, man.
Yeah, man. Just the last turn for the YOLO lulz. What else do we have here?
the one card in the expansion, I was like, holy shit! It doesn't need a big nerf, but it needs a particular nerf. I guess it's
Flame
overpowered
Wreathed
stuff. Yeah,
Faceless. Yeah, the fact that this is a common card is what blows my mind. The
that too. That too.
Flame Wreathed Faceless is a 4 mana 7/7 Overload 2. That card is so fucking good.
All it,
So
I think, all it needs to be
good.
fair is to be a 5 cost minion. I think at 4,
hope
it's
they keep-
so
I mean,
bad. I mean, it's so good, but like it's so overpowered, dude. You can coin this card out on turn.
Whatever, dude. You're getting a fucking 8 mana summon 3 beast, one with charge. That's a fucking 5/2.
Yeah, but you
plus
can't
one
cast it
all
on
other
turn
beasts.
3, Palmer. You can't cast it on turn 3.
Whatever,
You can
dude.
do this pretty much very reliably half the time if you have this card. You'll be able to play this on turn 3. That is retarded. A 7/7 on turn 3. It's insane. And the overload, like, it's only 2. So if you did coin it out on turn 3, you still have 2 mana. You could drop a totem and get like a taunt. You could play a spell to, kill something on the board to keep your 7/7 alive. This card is just ridiculous.
It's
Redonkulous.
delicious is what it is.
It's if you're a shaman player, this card is goddamn delicious. It's cheesecake. It's amazing.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, you will see this card in play a lot.
Stormcrack is the next one. Oh man, it's the Stormcrack. Alright, so it's 2 mana for a deal 4 damage to a minion, overload 1 spell. I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, this will see play.
This will definitely see play. I think it's basically a more reliable Crackle. Because personally, it's always kind of painful to play a Crackle.
Get
on
the
a
3
minion
damage.
and get the 3. Well, no. Like, if I'm in a desperate situation, which happens a lot with aggro shaman decks, and I have to use a Crackle, which has a potential to deal 6 damage, which is precious when I'm swinging for the fucking face. I have to use it to deal with the 3 health minion. I'm always not pleased about that. So this is something that I think has a lot of potential to do. Well, obviously it's going to do guaranteed damage, and it's a good way for shamans to have even more control over minions, without having to worry about things too much. And the overload 1, that's honestly pretty negligible on something that's going to deal 4 damage.
Yeah, it's just 1 overload. Not a big deal.
So yeah, I think that card's also really fucking good. And finally, we've got Primal Fusion. Woo! Totem decks. All right, it's 1 mana. 1 mana. Give a minion +1/+1 for each of your totems. Holy shit.
Pretty good. If considering it's 1 cost, pretty good.
Yeah, if you're really just holding all the totem memes and you play fucking what is it? Draenei Totem Carver. Play a Draenei Totem Carver, coin out that spell, and all of a sudden you're in meme heaven, dude. Like, play that even if you only have 2 totems. Draenei Totem Carver becomes a 6/6, and then it becomes an 8/8.
And there are a lot of
on turn
totems that
5.
aren't like a priority to immediately kill. Like if you have a healing totem up,
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna have at least 2 totems. If you're playing like an actual totem deck and you're really going for the memes, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna have 2 totems out when you drop.
and even if you just have to hit the button, it's still a 1/1 buff. Like if you're running low on cards or something, you have to drop a 5/5. It's something just a 6/6, and you have another totem. It's not. It's got a bit of flexibility with it.
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun for them, and that's really what Shaman's all about is the memes.
That's what Hearthstone's all about, Palmer.
Well, But yeah, I'm super excited about Shamans. My nipples are hard just thinking about it, Tim. Just thinking about it.
To be fair, your nipples are hard like half the time anyway.
Well, look, just because I'm always excited. Don't judge me.
For the watch.
This is a safe place.
Is it? You sure it isn't?
Fuck you. Talk about Warlock.
All right then. New Warlock Legendary. Cho'Gall?
Cho'Gall, yeah.
Looks about right.
Motherfucking Cho'Gall, boys. It's about time.
7 cost, 7/7 battle cry. The next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mayonnaise.
I really hope that Cho'Gall and Gul'dan have a conversation when you play this card. Like, there should be some serious interaction with Gul'dan. And Cho'Gall whenever this card is played. That would just make me so happy. As a Warcraft lore nerd, that would just make me so fucking happy.
As a card, I don't think it's terribly great just because the spell has to be cast that turn. Like, if you could, like, Siphon Soul with it or something, that'd be awesome. But just, you have 3 mana. What are you doing? Are you hellfiring and taking 6 damage? Like, I don't think so.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's cast from your health though.
You're absolutely right. I read that weirdly. What was my point? Oh, Siphon Souls, instead of healing, it only does 3 damage. I think that was originally good. It's almost like it's 2:30 in the morning. Give me a break. But yeah, still, I don't see this card being... Because with Warlock, like, you're constantly, like, chipping away your own health, at least in the early game, if things are going good for you. So, I don't know.
I think it's really good for demons. If you're playing like I've been trying to get this demon deck to work for a while, and it's been mediocre success. If you include demon hearts and stuff like that, I think it makes certain spells viable. If you can play that and then demon heart something and give something else +5/+5, and have a 7/7 body on the board, like that's pretty good. Granted, that situation isn't going to be very often, but
And it won't be in standard, will it? Because that's getting rotated out.
but there's also going to be demon hearts. Oh yeah, it's Goblin versus Gnomes.
Yeah.
All right, well you got Dark Bargain also.
Like you have potential to do some cool stuff with this. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Play a Cho'Gall, throw out a Dark Bargain. If there's only 2 bodies on the enemy board, all of a sudden you have a 7/7. They have to hope for a response.
you know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be terribly good, but I think it'll see play in certain decks, possibly.
Yeah.
I just don't know how well it'll work out for those decks. Time tell thing. Moving on to the next Warlock card. Doom! Exclamation point. 10 costs spell. Destroy all minions, draw a card for each.
Yeah, I think this card's pretty awful.
Yeah. You've already got Twisting Nether. It's cheaper. And like if you're trying to clear the board, you
Well,
probably
yeah.
don't want to draw like 7 cards.
And Warlocks don't really hurt for card draw.
No, they have a button that does
Yeah. So
Kill yourself deck, I guess, maybe.
I think it's like if you're playing some sort of combo druid, if you're really trying to exploit the hell out of the charge minions, then I could see this maybe being viable. But it helps you get your combos in your hand like immediately if you're just trying to wipe the board. But or like Leroy, like I really think because of power overwhelming, Warlock is still gonna turn to burst for late game. And I guess if you're really trying to get like power overwhelmings in Leroy, or the demon that has charge or something like that, then
Just a specific series of cards you have to have in your hand to win.
yeah, exactly. I think that will be really the one time that it's utilized. But other than that, just don't see it happen.
And you're likely to like overdraw and like fucking burn the card you wanted to draw. Like if the board's even halfway, it's just I don't know. It's a powerful card, but I don't know how much play it'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Next card, Renounced Darkness. 2-mana spell. Replace your hero power and warlock cards with another class's. The cards cost 1 less. Ultimate meme deck, if you're going for it, this is, I guess, the way to do it.
Yeah, you just have no idea what you're gonna get from it. That's the only downside.
You could get like you could get like an entire deck of like, a shitty 2-mana spell, basically. It's possible.
The only thing that I've seen somebody make a viable argument for playing this deck in Zoo. Because if you can do early aggro and then you realize that you're losing and you get a Renounced Darkness, then you have a chance for your deck to turn into mid or late game. And that made sense. I understand where that's coming from, but I think it's such an unreliable mechanic. I'd rather just make a mid-range Zoo deck that is going to be more reliable in what it does than rely on a card that I have no control over. But that's really the one argument that I've seen that I think had really any viability to it in terms of playing this card without just making memes.
But if you want to build a meme deck, throw a couple of these in some class cards and just see where it takes you. I don't think it'll be wildly popular, though.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
At all. Next Warlock card, Spreading Madness, 3-mana cost spell. Deal 9 damage randomly split among all characters.
Woo!
Matter bomber spell, basically.
Yeah, this card's awful.
Yeah, I don't see it making much play. Maybe in you put it in a Renounced Darkness deck just for the meme.
If it was, I think if it was 4 or 5 mana and deal it to all enemy characters, that would be much better.
Amazing. But that's like an Avenging Wrath or half the cost. So.
Yeah,
really wanted to see that. But yeah, I don't see this card getting much play. Darkshire Librarian is the next card. A 2-mana cost 3/2. Battlecry, discard a random card. Death Rattle, draw a card. I don't see this getting much play.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that good.
You're milling yourself.
The only time that I can think of where this would really be useful is if you're playing Zoo or something and you get a hand that you don't need. And you mulligan for it and you get another hand that you don't need. This gives you an opportunity to cycle a card out and get another one that
and it might get rid of the one card you could have used, and then suddenly you draw another card you don't need. Like, it's just... Yeah. And its body isn't amazing either.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's good at all.
Next card up is a spell, Forbidden Ritual. Spend all your mana, summon that many 1/1 tentacles. I think this is one of the stronger spend all your mana, do something cards. It's great.
I think it's really good, actually, yeah. This is going to be really good for aggro decks, because it has the potential to fill your board late game if you need it to.
Control decks, even mid-range decks. Like, I mean, spending 4 mana, getting 4 tentacles on the board out of nowhere. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Honestly, and just having it all be on different bodies. I mean, really, you're only susceptible to AOE at that point. So if you play your cards right, you know, you're looking at a big board advantage whenever you play this card. Yeah, I think it's really good.
Yeah, it'll see play. Next card up, Usher of Souls, 5 cost, 5/6. Whenever a friendly minion dies, give your Cthulhu +1/+1. This is actually the only Cthulhu card with Warlock. Pretty good effect, though, but I don't really think it's worth building a fucking deck around. But pretty good effect. Or throwing into a Cthulhu deck, Warlock class.
Yeah.
But it's,
I think really the whole reason that it's designed, or the whole reason this card exists, I think it's very good for the stats. This is really just designed so Warlocks can continue to play Zoo decks and then just throw this card down, sacrifice all their creatures, and end up with a Beast Cthulhu all of a sudden, like, just to throw tempo curve at the very end of the game.
Yeah, because a 5/6 isn't exactly easy to get rid of.
Yeah, it's really good. It's
just in that range of, like, annoying to get rid of.
The stats are fantastic, and if you're playing Zoo and you have a lot of tiny minions, I mean, this has a lot of potential to just boost your Cthulhu really quickly. It's just a matter of, like, how long you can keep that Usher on the board. So, and I guarantee you, I don't know. I think it's real. You said it's the only card for Cthulhu, but I think it's
for
really
Warlocks.
But I think it's the only one that they really need, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's something you can absolutely drop on turn 5. Have a board, not even full, just a handful of stuff on the board, and just throw it and destroy your opponent's board and buff your Cthulhu in the process.
Yeah.
So, pretty good. Probably you'll see play.
Yeah.
Especially
I think it will.
Yeah. Next card up, Darkshire Councilman. 3 cost, 1/5. After you summon a minion, gain +1 attack. Might see play. I like it, but I don't know if it's reliable enough to stick. But with something like Forbidden Ritual thrown in, like, oh man, this card is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a 1/5 on its own, so.
Yeah, I think this card's really good. Once again, playing with the Zoo Warlocks.
It's a great Zoo card.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic for that. And I really think we're going to see a hell of a lot of Zoo Warlock now.
Because we haven't had enough of it already.
Yeah, exactly. Which excites me, honestly. I really enjoy playing Zoo Warlock. So
it's a fun deck to play. Last card for the Warlock class also fits very well in with the Zoo Warlock deck. A Possessed Villager. It's a 1 cost 1/1, and its Death Rattle summons a 1/1 Shadow Beast. So kind of, it's been compared a lot to Argent Squire.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison, I think. Card's pretty good. Pretty good, I think, for Zoo decks.
Yeah, a lot of Warlock decks are going to throw this in their decks.
Synergizes really well with Usher. Really, really well with Usher. And it synergizes really well with Darkshire's Councilman, too, because it's whenever you summon him and not whenever you play.
Right, so when your Death Rattle goes off, you get another buff.
Yeah, so I mean, very good card. Synergizes with the 2 other cards very well, too. So, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I didn't even think about Darkshire Councilman with Forbidden Ritual. That just blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, dude. And it's like, you don't really need it. Even if you do it on turn 5, you're still getting a 3/5 for 3 and a couple 1/1s. Like,
Jesus Christ. Or Forbidden Ritual with the hell's the name of that card? With Reliquary Seeker.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
You can play all that on turn 7. Like you can have relic. Or, well, no, I guess you can't. I guess you'd have to play the Forbidden Ritual on turn 6 and then Reliquary Seeker turn 7. Couldn't play them both at the same time.
You want to do the warrior card since you're also a warrior player?
Yeah, sure. I'll hit them.
Away, sir.
All right. What do we have first? We've got Malkarak.
Just the warrior legendary.
Yep, that's the warrior legendary. It's a let's hold on, switching things around with these filters. All right, it's a 7 mana 6/5 battle cry. Equip a random weapon. Pretty good card, I think.
It's a little slow, but yeah, I like it. It's like a Blingtron, but you don't have to give your opponent a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And really, the only downside is if you get a Cursed Blade. You're kind of
that would be horrifying.
And you're kind of fucked. But that's really only a small chance. I don't know. I think we'll definitely see this played, see this experimented with.
You're absolutely going to see it a lot in the next couple weeks. It's definitely one that's going to get toyed around with a lot.
Yeah. You're right about it being a little slow, but honestly, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's a 6/5 for 7, but it gives you a weapon that could
be incredible. Yeah, exactly. So
could be a Tentacles for Arms too.
Can you imagine? Speaking of which, let's talk about Tentacles for Arms. It's going to be the next card. It's a 5 mana 2/2 weapon. Death Rattle. Return this to your hand. It's basically the never-ending weapon. I've seen the memes come out for this already. People are talking about a lot of crazy synergies with this card. Personally, I think they're going to be kind of complicated to pull off, but we'll see whether or not it's any good. I mean, I think it's got infinite. It's clearly got infinite potential.
The only deck I see running into it with is fatigue decks. It's great for fatigue.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic for late game control warriors and fatigue warriors. You're 100% right on that. Yeah, I mean, we'll see whether or not the community accepts it when all is said and done. But I personally think it's a pretty good card.
It's just so expensive.
I think it's worth it. It's essentially always having a weapon. I don't think I'll put more than one of them in a deck. But
just have 2 Tentacles for Arms in your hand and just cry. That'd be bad.
So angry. All right, next on the list we have Blood Warriors. This card is awful. That's really all that needs to be said. It's 3 mana for a spell that does add a copy of each damage-friendly minion into your hand. It's basically a worse Echo of Medivh. Because minions have to be damaged in order to get them to come back to your hands.
It's not very hard to do as a warrior, but dropping a minion you want to copy on the same turn as playing this and something like a whirlwind is unlikely. But I don't think it's awful. I don't think it'll see much play. But
I've heard some people say, well, this could get you a hell of a lot of patrons.
Yeah, that's true.
Patrons
are 5 mana to play, though. That's the thing. So
I don't think that you're gonna put this in a patron deck.
I think patron decks will toy around with it at least, because they're expensive to get out there. But just having another one in your hand, or 4.
We'll see, but I am really far from sold on this card. We'll see what happens with it, but I don't think that it's gonna be anything too impressive. What else do we have on the list? Ancient Shieldbearer is next. This card is pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. This card's actually really good.
Basically a better version of Shieldbearer. I think it's going to be really good for Warrior Cthulhu's. But if I'm not mistaken, that is the only Cthulhu deck for Warriors. Or Cthulhu card for Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it's a powerful card.
It is, yeah. So I mean, Warrior. The problem is, I think Warrior is going to be so tailored towards control now. Control and basically trying to AoE as many creatures down as possible.
Well, think about it's a 7-cost card. and your Cthulhu only needs to be at 10 attacks. So it's not like you have to really tailor a deck to Cthulhu. You put a couple of these at Cthulhu and like maybe 3 or 4 Cthulhu cards in a deck, and by the time you start to get late game where you want like 10 armor out of nowhere, this card's actually viable to do that, likely to do that for you. So I think it
Yeah.
might see some play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna experiment with it, but I don't know how viable it's gonna be in ranked. We'll see what happens with it. Next up, we've got Bloodsail Cultist.
Arg.
Arg. More pirates. It's a 3 mana for a 3/4. It is a spider tank, pretty much. But its battle cry is if you control a pirate, give your weapon +1/+1. Pretty sweet card.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, like you said, it's a spider tank, but it's got, instead of the mech tag, it's got the pirate tag, and it's got the benefit of buffing your weapon.
Yep. I think it's pretty good. If you manage to make a pretty competent pirate deck with warrior, which I don't really think is too possible.
Nah, but there is another pirate. It's actually kind of good in the warrior deck this expansion, but yeah.
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 Let's see. What do we have? Blood to Iker. It's 1 mana for a spell. It deals 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, summon a 2/2 slime. I think it's a pretty good card.
This card can see a lot of play.
I wish it was a 2/2 slime with taunt.
What's with you and the slime taunts, man?
I just want taunts on my slimes.
Just shit together.
Sludge Belcher has made me expect slimes with taunts.
No longer.
That's really the bottom line on that one. I miss my slime taunts. So yeah, I mean, it's a good card. It gives you a way to be able to deal 1 damage. It's really, really good with patron decks.
It's just a really good warrior card. You could spend 2 mana to like kill a giant minion and get a 2/2 slime out of it. Like, it's a good card.
It's 1 mana. And it's a good trigger for execute. Gives you 2
Yeah, so I
slime
mean,
on the board.
you know, 1 mana for Bloodvicar, 1 mana for execute. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's insane. It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
We've got Bloodhoof Brave next on the list. It's 4. Jesus. All right. It's 4 mana for a 2/6. It's got taunt and enrage +3 attack. Very fucking good arena card.
I think it's a good card, even constructed. It's just a good card.
Yeah.
With the enrage, the taunt, it's just delicious.
I'll play with it. I'm gonna try to see if I can come up with some way that I think it'll be really good, but I don't think it's gonna be that viable and constructed. I could be 100% wrong on this.
I don't think it's gonna be amazing, but I think it'll see a decent amount of play in constructed.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not. It's another card that I'm actually pretty lukewarm to a lot of the warrior cards in this expansion.
The next one is just.
Yeah, Ravaging
Oh my.
is pretty damn good though. It's 3 mana for a 3/3 battlecry, deal 1 damage to all their minions. That's pretty damn good.
Yes, sir.
You get a undamaged 3/3 on the board. It doesn't have taunt or anything, but synergizes so well with patron. There's so much shit in here that synergizes so well with patron.
And just warrior in general, like, execute. Just turn 4. If someone drops a 7/7 on turn 4, Palmer, this is how you kill it. You drop this and then execute.
I just think they're giving warriors so many patron triggers now, and so many just ways to
just meme it up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting playing against warriors this expansion, I think. And then N'Zoth's First Mate. That's also a pirate. It's a 1 mana for a 1/1 battle cry, equipped a 1/3 Rusty Hook. This card is incredible for early game.
This card's incredible for warrior in general. You're going to see this in a lot of warrior decks.
Yeah, it's just another way to deal 1 damage. Warriors they just need a way to be able to deal that 1 damage sometimes to get the execute off, and this is just another way to do it. Honestly, I think this card's pretty awful for late game, but
yeah,
if you can get this card out early game on turn 1,
even turn 2, turn 3, it's still a pretty decent card. It gives you a weapon and you can kill off spells with it.
Yeah, so I mean it's definitely got potential to be awesome. But it depends kind of when you're playing it during the game. That's all the warrior ones. Like I said, I'm kind of lukewarm to them, but we'll see how they play. I think it just means that I'm gonna have to change my warrior style. That's really it. Because I don't know. I love like playing 30-minute long games with the
It's
warriors.
the most boring shit I've ever seen in my life.
It is. It is. It's so boring for
And I play
everybody but
control
me.
priest, and I think it's boring.
It's so boring for everybody but me, and that's kind of the reason that I play them, because I imagine that half the times people just are willing to quit. You'd be surprised how many times it's just well played by the time we get to turn like 15.
They're done with it.
They're just, yeah, they've made up their
Fuck
mind.
this kid's card game. I'm gonna go do something else.
But that's the way that I really enjoy playing Warrior. So the times they are changing.
All right, that's all the class cards. This brings us to all the neutral cards. Start off with all the old gods. N'Zoth the Corruptor. A 10-cost 5/7 battle cry. Summon your death rattle minions that died this game. Card's pretty cool. I think it'll see some play, especially in like something I was mentioning earlier, like Death Rattle Hunter. I would absolutely put this card in a Death Rattle Hunter deck. I'd put this card in pretty much any Death Rattle deck.
It's gonna make me experiment with Death Rattle Shaman again.
It's like if you have a couple, it's kind of sucks because if like you have a couple things on the board you don't really want off the board, or you have no way of killing. It doesn't get that huge effect of just filling your board, and it's a 5/7 for 10 mana. But you know, it's the possibilities, man. It's I think this card's really cool. I think it'll see some play, especially in the first couple weeks when everyone's experimenting with everything. And honestly, I think it'll see some play past that.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that we lost Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we lost Baron Revendare. But I like that. This card makes me want to experiment with the Death Rattle Shaman in Wild again, just to see what happens with it. I mean, it's gonna still get shat on by Secret Paladin, but you know, YOLO.
No, the Secret Eater card, Palmer GG.
Yeah,
Just put it in every deck in Wild.
That has
Probably
the
gonna
voice
happen.
and fucking Death Rattle Shaman.
It's fine. Anyway, moving on to the next old god, Cthulhu himself, which is a 10-cost 6/6. But as we know, has been a theme with this expansion, you can buff him up to ridiculous values, which plays into his battle cry, which is deal damage equal to this minion's attack, randomly split among all enemies. This card has the potential just to win you the game outright. It's ridiculous. And the fact that Blizzard's giving it to everyone in their first pack of Whispers of the Old Gods, it's going to be a very common thing, even probably past the whole experimental phase. Even if this Cthulhu decks fall down to like tier 3 or 4 decks, you're going to see a lot of Cthulhu decks. So control is something that's absolutely getting pushed on into the meta, and it's going to be a thing. And this card has a lot to do with that. And I'm planning on building a couple different Cthulhu decks, so I'm pretty excited for it. It'll give me something new to mess around with that I don't have to save 8,000 dust for, so... Yeah, that's my take on it. Palmer, thoughts, opinions?
I really like it. I think it's awesome. I think it's a great mechanic. I really like the way that they're synergizing it with so many cards. Pretty much everything you said, I had to really kind of struck all the points that I was going to make about it. So
It's something that'll shake up the game a little bit.
yeah, I think it's got. Oh man, I think there's just so many good Cthulhu decks out there, man. There's going to be a lot of potential for some fun nonsense, and it makes it very accessible for new players. I think.
Yeah, because they flat out give you a couple cards that interact with it and the card itself. So it's not something, it's not a Dr. Broom situation where you're like, oh god, I have to save up for the card.
Yeah, I mean, good guy Blizzard's giving 10 free packs away now because
13
no longer oh yeah, 13 I guess no longer.
Well, that's a promotional period. Like I think it's within the first week or two that's only going on.
I thought it's like the first month, I think, dude.
Oh, it might be the first. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Disenchant stuff is a week. So, but yeah, Cthulhu gonna be a thing all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Next
Next old god. Oh Jesus, Yasharl. Rage Unbounding. 10 mana cost. Yasharsh is the Rage Unbounding. Wow. 10 mana cost 10/10. At the end of your turn, put a minion from your deck into the battlefield. Of all the old gods, I'd say this is the weakest, or at least the one that will see the least amount of play. Yeah, the one that will see the least amount of play. I should probably specify.
I think this card is absolutely incredible in Druid.
Yeah, I mean it can be incredible in a lot of situations. It's just
If you can pull this off in like an actual ramp Druid, Like
It just really depends on what it pulls from your deck. You have to go not you don't
that's why you
have to go for a
just
top heavy deck, but you're gonna want a pretty heavy
yeah, you want a
end
pretty
game
top
deck.
heavy deck, man.
Yeah. But if you tailor it like that, yeah, this card could be fucking amazing.
Yeah, you would want either nothing but cards that are top heavy or have magnificent fucking abilities on the board that aren't battle cries.
Or just good stat lines. Like fuck Battlecry, just fuck Battlecry's good stat line. Pulls up and good. But yeah, it has potential to be amazing, but I think of all the old gods, it's going to be the one that's played the least.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could pull this out, get an Alarmo bot. You could pull this out, get Brand Bronzebeard, and then go for the dank Battlecry memes. Or you could pull. I mean, there's a lot of
You can pull a
potential.
Deathwing out of this thing, like
Yeah, well, then you're kind of losing a lot of the best parts of Deathwing.
nah. Not the new Deathwing.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good card. I'm definitely gonna experiment with it and see what. I understand why so many people are so lukewarm on it because it seems the least powerful out of all of them. But I think it has also
And
some
it
of the
depends on
biggest
RNG.
potential.
That's the biggest thing with me.
What's the name of that Druid legendary? That would be the dream. Aviana.
The new one?
If you no, no, no.
Pulling an Avion out of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
That
at
would
the
be
end of
the
your
dream.
turn, so if you pulled an Avion out of it, you have to hope the Aviana survives.
Yeah, but then if they kill the Aviana, you still probably have a pretty good chance of having a 10-10 on the board.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. They waste
So
removal on it, and it's really unlikely they'll be able to deal with, like, say, an Aviana and
yeah,
a Yogg-Saral.
yeah. Or if you got a Malorn out of it, that would be pretty good too. It's unkillable. Man, that card saved my life once. That's a whole separate story. But,
It's going to wild though. What do?
oh yeah, I guess it is. Fuck.
Last of the old gods, Yogg-Saron, Hope's End, 10 mana, cost 7/5. Battlecry, cast a random spell for each spell you've cast this game. Targets chosen randomly.
Yep.
Not a particularly good card, but probably the funniest card Hearthstone has ever put out.
Yeah, this is. I really love the way that this card is designed. It's never ever gonna see legitimate ranked play.
You might in the higher, rank up to rank 15, you might see one of these just for the hilarity. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something you have to build a deck around. You just want to make sure there's a decent amount of spells in the deck. But just, it can lose you the game. It can win you the
yeah.
game. It can clear your own
It
board.
has all the power.
It's just hilarious. Like, when they pulled it out a couple of times on the stream for Whispers of the Old Gods, and each time was just fucking hilarious what happened, what ensued.
Yeah.
Like Philly, I think they did an Unleash the Hounds, and then a couple spells later, it was a Demon Fire, so it just killed all the hounds. Like, just fucking hilarious. This card, fantastic. I'm probably gonna end up crafting it at one point just for the stupidity of it, and build
Yeah.
around that.
It is. It's certainly something special.
And those are the 4 Old Gods cards. We're moving on to other neutral cards. Next card, Deathwing, Dragon Lord.
Woo!
10 mana cost 12/12 dragon. Death Rattle, put all dragons from your hand into the battlefield. This is the first card I saw revealed. I was like, all right, I'm absolutely crafting this because I'm putting it in my current Dragon Priest deck and I'm just taking out, I think, Sylvanas and replacing it with this. This card is fucking awesome. Your opponent wants to silence it, but they don't want to waste a silence on a 12/12. They'd rather kill the 12/12. But if they kill the 12/12, there's a good chance you're dropping, in my case, a Ysera, a Nefarian, even without the battle cry. It's an 8/8, a Nuzz for the meme effect. Like, this card is fucking awesome. Really looking forward to fucking around with it. It really works out well with Control Piece, which is what I play, because it's very top heavy, it's a very control-y card. And you lose the battle cry effect, but the only thing I run with battle cries dragon-wise is a Twilight Drake, so instead of a 2/3, I get a 2/1. And instead of a 3/6 taunt, I get a 2/6 without taunt. Or I can't remember the priest card, the 1-cost dragon. That's a 2/3 if you have a dragon in your hand. So it'd be a
Twilight Drake.
Is it Twilight?
No,
No.
no. That's the full one. It's another Drake though.
Yeah,
Can't
but I don't run Twilight Drake, so that's not it. But the point is, if you're not, like, there are dragons that are very Battlecry centric, but you don't necessarily have a deck full of them. So you're going, even if you have a couple cards in your hand and they're like mid-range, 5-6 mana cost cards, you're just suddenly getting dumped on the battlefield. It's a fucking awesome card. kind of reliant on you living to, you know, up to and past wave, or I'm sorry, turn 10. But with Dragon Priest, or at least my Dragon Priest deck, not a fucking issue. I've got, power words, I've got tombs, I've got shit to keep me alive. I have a hero power that heals everything. So I think this card is absolutely going to see play. I don't think it's going to become a staple of like dragon decks in general, but I think it's going to see play. Absolutely, without question.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you on that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this so much. So much. I have all my dust ready for the crafting. The crafting goodness. Anyway, moving on to the next legendary, Soggoth the Slitherer. A 9 mana cost, 5/9 taunt that can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. This card would be amazing if it was like 7 mana, maybe 8 mana even. At 9 mana, I don't see this getting a whole hell of a lot of play. It's great that it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers and that it has taunt, but
fucking Black Knight.
Black Knight. Yeah, that's not a spell or hero power, but I mean, it's a very specific circumstance. But even without the Black Knight memeness, it's not a very powerful card for its cost. Its stat line is kind of meh. But might see play, probably not.
Doubt it.
Moving on to the next card that will absolutely never see play in any format whatsoever, the Boogie Monster. A 8 mana cost 6/7. Whenever this attacks and kills a minion, it gains +2/+2.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
Sounds great, but for the mana cost, how slow it is, I really doubt this card's going to see play. Outside of someone being like, I'm going to put a Boogie Monster in my deck because I got it out of a pack and I hate myself. Then it might see some play.
I think it'll be decent in Arena.
Arena, because with Arena you tend to go for more mid-centric game to kind of ramp up to the late. Yeah, maybe in Arena, but honestly, even then, it's just so. Yeah. Moving on. This next legendary is actually the other legendary I'm planning on crafting because it is amazing for Cthulhu decks, and that is Twin Emperor Veclor. A 7 mana cost, 4/6 with taunt, but its battle cry is if you have a Cthulhu with at least 10 attack, summon another Emperor, meaning this exact same card. So if your Cthulhu has 10 attack, which is extremely likely on turn 7, even if you coin this out on turn 6, it's extremely likely, you get 2 4/6 with taunt cards on the battlefield. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
And it's a 4 attack, so it's not getting shadow worded by a priest. It's not getting stolen by I guess priest is really the thing I'm thinking of. But it's an annoying card, and there's 2 of them, and it just buys you time to live to drop Cthulhu and just utterly dismantle your opponent.
It is a good time to be a mage or a shaman. X is going to be one of the best cards in the game.
Flame Strike doesn't get rid of this. Like you'd need. It's just But even if you hex it, there's a fucking other one just staring at you, laughing. That's what makes this card so amazing. But yeah, this card is probably going to be a staple in Cthulhu decks. Like it's legendary, so I don't think it'll be people will have it right off the bat. But yeah, once the metal settles down a little bit after a month or so, this card's absolutely going to be in every
Black Knight.
It's fine. You got 2 Black Knights? No, fuck yourself. I got another one. That's why this card's amazing.
That's why you have to put pandas in your decks now.
That'd be hilarious. You could do that actually. What's panda, like 2 mana?
Yeah.
2 or 3 mana? Yeah. Could happen. Next up is a corrupted version of an old card, Hogger, Doom of Elwyn. 7 mana cost 6/6. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/2 Null with taunt. Warrior decks, eat your heart out.
Really, what I want to put this in is that stupid fucking Warlock deck where I just try to flood the board as much as possible.
You just love flooding the board with weenie
and
stuff.
Then just playing Reliquary Seeker. I just enjoy playing that so much. I don't know why. It's just one of my favorite cards. It's awful, but I love it. I'm definitely putting this in the deck. I ended up putting the original Hogger in there. I think this is going to replace the original Hogger.
Got a bit more power than the original Hogger. Is costs more, but
I might
it's
just
more
keep
likely
them in
to
there and go really go for the memes. Both of them.
The double Hogger play.
Double Hogger all day, every day.
But yeah, this card is very likely to see play, and a couple different decks.
Yeah.
Next up is the corrupted version of Mukla. Mukla, Tyrant.
This version is so much better.
Yeah. Well, it's a 6 mana 5/5 beast, and it adds 2 bananas to your hand, as opposed to regular Mukla, which is a 3 mana 5/5 beast that gives your opponent 2 bananas. This card is going. If I'm building a Hunter Beast deck, I'm probably putting this card in it.
Yeah, I mean, this card's really good. It's
Yeah.
because really, honestly, if you look at it, yeah, you're playing a 5/5, but you're really getting a 7/7 where two of the stats can be distributed to anything on
Yeah,
your
you can
board.
put it. You don't have to put them on Mukla. You can put them on something else.
Yeah, so like you can just play Mukla turn 8 and then play the two stats on whatever else is on the board, and you're fine.
And if your hand happens to be empty and the only other card is Brawn, just get 4 bananas in your hand.
It really just spam
Go insane.
all the greetings.
All the wows.
Greetings.
Astonishing. All the astonishings. But yeah, I think this version of Mukla is going to see a lot more play than the old version of Mukla.
Yeah.
Next up, another. Well, no, they both suck. Nat Peggle, his evil form. Nat the Dark Fisher. 2 mana, 2/4. At the start of your opponent's turn, they have a 50% chance to draw an extra card, as opposed to the regular Nat Peggle, who is a 2 mana cost 0/4. At the start of your turn, you have a 50% chance to draw an extra card. There's one deck this is absolutely going to be in. Fucking Mill decks. Mill decks love this card, Palmer.
Yeah.
Surveys say.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious. Like, you have to put this in a Mill deck if you're building Mill decks.
There's better cards.
Yes, but it's just hilarious. It's not bad stats. Like, I guess that's the whole point you would really want to play it. The 2/4 for 2 mana is pretty. You drop this in on turn 2, they either expend removal getting rid of it, or it like trades 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean it's really just designed. You're right. It's designed for mill decks, but it's designed so mill decks can control the board early game. That's really what it's designed for.
it's good at it too. A 2/4 for 2 mana, like.
Yeah, it is. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
But like Mill Rogue, oh man, they're taking something out and putting this card in, and I'm very happy with themselves. I foresee. But outside of that, you would never play this card. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, I don't know, man. I think we have potential to see this card just played in aggro decks in general.
Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe you squeeze them in.
Maybe.
Next card, Legendary Shifter Zurus. A 1 mana cost 1/1. Each turn this card turns into a random minion. Each turn this card is in your hand, it transforms into a random minion. I love this card. I don't know how often it'll be played, but I love this card. Just the RNG hilarity of it is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of have to wait for it to turn into something good and hope you can play it. That's really what you.
And if for some reason you have no early game, you mulligan, you have no early game again except for this guy. You're like, I've got nothing in my hand. I might as well play a 1/1 drop on turn 1. So
I'd rather see this card be, transform into a random enemy minion with 1 less mana cost.
that'd be pretty cool.
I think that would be, this card would be an auto include in like every deck if it did that.
Well, it'd probably be horribly overpowered because it'd be an auto include in every deck.
Well, no, I mean it wouldn't be too overpowered because I mean if you think about it, if you play Unstable Portal for 2 mana, you're getting a 2 less mana cost.
Yes, but see, instead of nerfing Unstable Portal, they just take it out of standard, Palmer. So that's a thing. But yeah, I think this card could be pretty fun to fuck around with. So
yeah,
you might see it, you might not. Some people will fuck around with it. Next up is Blood of the Ancient One. A 9 cost, 9/9. If you control 2 of these at the end of your turn, merge them into the Ancient One. The Ancient One being a 30/30 creature.
this card is fucking terrible.
It's too slow.
Way too slow.
Oh, it's too slow. I mean, if you have the ability to get 2 of these out on the board, you probably won the game anyway.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's a win more card.
Yeah.
The only Varian maybe. Varian Ren.
Yeah.
Put 2 of these out on the board. Bam! It turns into a 30/30. That's living the dream, dude.
Yeah.
That is living.
It might be an
fucking
okay arena
dream.
card, just if you don't have any late game and you need them. You want a 9/9, but in constructed, it's just nah.
Yeah, I
See this.
don't know. There's better 9 cost cards. I mean,
Absolutely. There's better 8 cost cards.
yeah.
Next up is Scaled Nightmare, which is the second of the 3 dragons in this set. I'm pretty hype. A 6 mana cost 2/8. At the start of your turn, double this minion's attack. It's not a terribly great card, but if your priest runs something like Inner Fire, and it's 1 mana, so on turn 7 you drop this, you turn it into an 8/8, it lives. Your next turn it's a 16/8, and that is insane, but that is very much the dream scenario. I don't necessarily like hate this card, but I just don't see running it in the foreseeable future. Maybe somewhere down the line. But as a dragon player, this card doesn't excite me a whole hell of a lot.
This is why the rogue stealth card was nerfed.
For this card, yeah, no, cards like this, absolutely. And if you can somehow get stealth on this for even like 2 turns, it's a big deal. But again, these are like dream scenarios, so I just don't see it getting much play outside of people just fucking around with dragon decks.
Mm-hmm. I think this card will be really good, especially priest because there are so many taunts in front of it.
Yeah, and priest spells, you can fuck around with it too. It's only 6 mana, you can throw a couple spells at it, but I don't see it being a standard in dragon decks. Moving on, Ancient Harbinger, Jesus. 6 mana cost, 4/6. At the start of your turn, put a 10 cost minion from your deck into your hand. I guess it's a way to get an old god in your hand if you absolutely need an old god in your hand, but why are you wasting a card on your deck with this, or as this? I don't see it getting much play.
I don't know, it can get your Deathwing out if you're playing Dragon.
You and your Deathwings.
No, like the new one that you were just ranting about.
Yeah, but again, you're wasting a spot in your deck for this card just to pull that particular card. Like I just, might.
If it's the only 10 cost card in your deck, then you're ensuring that it's in there.
True, but it's not like it really does anything for you aside from drawing it. Like it doesn't. It isn't any cheaper to play. You still need your hand in the good scenario where you have a couple dragons in your hand. I don't know, just wasting a card spot on this card, I don't think it's worth it personally, but I could be completely wrong. And, there's a chance some people might want to play this card with all these 10-cost Old Gods cards coming into the meta, so.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell's the name of that Naga? Naga Sea Witch, is it?
Oh, the Naga 5/5, all cards cost 5. Yeah,
that's
you
not
had
getting cycled out.
You had a bit of synergy in with that.
That and you've got the Druid synergy with whatever the fuck that Druid legendary is. So bad at remembering the names of these cards.
Cenarius?
Aviana.
Oh, Aviana. Well, she's a 9 cost, isn't she?
Right, but what I'm saying is if you can get Aviana out of play.
Yeah, but again, you're like setting up the ultimate dream scenario that's like almost never
and it's still just a win more situation. It's not like you will win because of this situation.
But because of the Old Gods cards, you might see this, but you won't see it in anywhere near, high tier decks. Yeah. Next up, Praised Worshipper, 5 mana cost 3/6, taunt. Whenever this minion takes damage, give your Cthulhu +1/+1. Might see this. Not in the Druid class Cthulhu decks, because they have a better card for this, but other decks, other classes for Cthulhu, you might see this. This is a pretty good card. Kind of. Sort of. It's 5 mana cost for a 3/6 taunt, but it's likely to give your Cthulhu at least 2 1/1 buffs, so it's got that going for it.
Yeah, I would rather it be a 5 mana like 4/6. I think that would be a better, much better card, but I don't know. It might be worth it. It might be. I think this is one of those cards that isn't going to be an auto-include in the index.
No.
There's better stuff. There's better class Cthulhu cards for the decks that are really going to be Cthulhu.
Yeah, especially the decks that are going to be the most popular.
Yep.
Moving on to the Validated Doomsayer. 5 mana cost 0/7, but at the start of your turn, this minion's attack is set to 7. So basically, you drop this on the board. If it survives your next turn, it's suddenly a 7/7 for 5 mana.
Yep.
I've gone back and forth on this card. I'm kind of at a neutral point on it. It might see some play, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be like a top tier card.
I mean, all you need is a silence for this.
A silence. You can Mr. Steal Your Girl it. You can Shadow Word it. You can do a lot of things to kill it. Or if you have, even like 2 or 3 minions on the board, you just run them into it and kill it. So it's kind of got that soft taunt aspect to it. But yeah, I just don't see this getting a whole hell of a lot of play. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's going to be a lot of play on this. I think it's a pretty awful card, actually.
I wouldn't say awful, but it's definitely not good. Moving on to Dark Speaker, 5 mana cost 3/6 battle cry. Swap the stats of this minion with a friendly minion, or swap stats with a friendly. Basically, you drop this on the board and you swap stats with another minion, turning the other minion to a 3/6. What we saw on the Whispers of the Old Gods stream was pretty hilarious. They dropped down this card and turned I think it was a Manatide Totem into a 3/6. And then the following turn evolved this card, so it turned into a 6-drop instead of an 0/3. So
Oh shit! Actually, that's amazing.
yeah, this card you will see in certain decks, but it won't be necessarily commonplace. But you will see this card from time to time in certain decks, especially revolving around the Shaman class with the whole evolve thing. So
Oh man, that's so good in totem decks. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, so I think it'll be a card that sees play, just not common.
Yeah, suddenly this card just became a hell of a lot better.
Have I blown your mind?
Not really, because I still think it's just a mediocre card. But
But the evolve memes,
yeah, the dream memes.
especially the Shaman, you can turn a 0/2 taunt into a 3/6 taunt. Pretty good. Pretty good. Next up, Faceless Shambler. A 4-mana cost 1/1 with taunt, battle cry, copy of friendly minions, attack, and health. So kind of like a Faceless Manipulator with taunt.
Yep.
But
But
instead
it
of
doesn't
copying an
actually
enemy minion.
it doesn't actually turn into the minion. It just copies
Yeah,
the stats.
that's true. And you can only target friendly minions with it. So might see some play, but I don't know. It's just kind of meh.
I think it's actually a really good card for shamans also, because of the power of the overload cards. For instance, if you play that 4-mana overload 7/7, you can turn around and play this 2 turns later and have 2 7/7s on the board and still have enough mana to turn around and play other things.
Or if you're turn 8, you just suddenly have a 7/7 and 7/7 with taunt.
Oh, that's a pretty incredible turn right there. I think this card's a lot better than people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, I think it is a pretty good card. I don't think it's going to be commonplace, but I think you'll see it.
I think there's going to probably end up being one of these just like faceless type decks that uses faceless cards and and totems. I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
All right, force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Words marked. Next card up, Twilight Summoner, a 4-mana cost 1/1 Death Rattle, summon a 5/5 Faceless Destroyer. It has the guaranteed factor of the 5/5 Faceless Destroyer, but unlike the card we just talked about, it doesn't have taunts. It's a 4-mana cost card, so at that point in the game, your opponent could easily silence it, and you just paid 4 mana for a 1/1, but it expends a silence, so it's got that going for it. Is another card I'm kind of iffy neutral on. Like, I might see some play, but I don't know. I don't think it'll be very common.
Yeah, I don't think that this card's going to see a hell of a lot of play. I think it's just too slow. I mean, if you can pull it off, it gives you immense value, but I think it's way too slow. Way too slow to actually like. The only time that I can, even then, I don't even think it's really worth it. I mean, you could play this and then Mortal Coil, and have a 5/5 and then draw a card from it.
But yeah, it's basically a 5/5 with a card draw. It's a cheaper Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That's
like that's a best.
Yeah, again,
scenario.
that's the dream scenario.
Yeah.
But even that's not particularly the dream scenario. So, but yeah, actually, 4/4 buff for Warlock. God damn it. Power overwhelming this thing. That'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, again, those are dream scenarios, so we don't know. Don't think this will be common. Anyway, moving on to the next card, Cyclopean Horror or Cyclopean Horror. Cyclopean Horror. 4-mana cost 3/3 taunt. Battle cry. Gain +1 health for each enemy minion. I think this is kind of like Blizzard's way of replacing Sludge Belcher, sort of, in that it's great against aggro decks. Because if your opponent has a bunch of weenies on the board, suddenly you have a 3/8 taunt that they're going to run most of their shit into to try to kill. Pretty good card, I think. Not amazing, but pretty good. On the card. Good to know. Next up, Doomcaller. A 8-mana cost 7/9 battle cry. Give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is. If your Cthulhu is dead, shuffle it into your deck. This card going to see some play in Cthulhu decks. It's really late game, but it's really powerful. If your Cthulhu's still alive, it gets the buff. If it's not, it's just suddenly back in your deck. Fantastic. So yeah, I think this will see play. I'm probably going to put 2 of these in my Cthulhu deck. I think most people are agreeing maybe 1's good enough, but no, fuck you. I'm putting 2 of these in here.
I think I'd probably put 1 in because I think if you get 2 Cthulhu's out, you're just there's really not going to be
just over
anything left.
Overkill.
Considering the Cthulhu does the damage that it gains.
It's
as
also
well.
it's really good if like I don't know your opponent mills Cthulhu or Cthulhu maybe gets pulled maybe like on not a Death Lord but some type of scenario where Cthulhu is just put into play when it's not ready to come into play and it
Well,
doesn't get its battle cry.
if it gets milled, it's not dead. Doesn't that count as discarded?
I'm pretty sure they clarified on Twitter if like your Cthulhu gets discarded and you drop this, your Cthulhu comes back into your deck.
Oh, okay. All
I
right. Well,
think I'm like there were a lot of card clarifications over the past like half week, so could be wrong on that, but I think this card will absolutely see playing Cthulhu decks. Solid stats, solid body. Moving on to next card, which is a Murloc. 6 mana, 2/3 battle cry, deal 2 damage to all non-Murloc minions. Cool idea, but I think the card's way too expensive.
I don't know that it is. Murloc decks are hurting on AoE.
That's true.
And if you think about it, you don't really see a whole lot of Murlocs come into play unless you're going against a Murloc Paladin. And that's where I think that this card would be most successful. It's just a board clear pretty much for Paladins.
Paladins do have the
as well as-
Consecrate, though. So you're kind of playing 2 mana for a 2/3, but paying 2 mana for a 2/3, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, because
Especially with the Murloc synergy.
yeah, you're getting that extra Murloc synergy. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's slow at first, but when you really think about it, and the fact that all non-Murloc minions, it doesn't really matter if you're playing Murlocs. Chances are you're playing a Murloc deck, so it's not going to hurt you. This card's going to be awful in Arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in Constructed, if people are playing Murloc decks, I think it's got potential.
It's one of those cards you're absolutely going to see a lot over the next couple of weeks.
Maybe, yeah.
In Murloc. I mean, if you see a Murloc deck, you're probably going to see this card just because people want to fuck around with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious. Moving on. Next card. Skirim Cultist? Skirim? Skirm? Skirm. Skirim Cultist. 6 mana, 7/6. Battle Cry. Give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is. 6 mana for a 7/6. It's kind of eh. Does give your Cthulhu +2/+2, but honestly, I think there's better Cthulhu cards in this set than this.
Yeah, I think if this was like a 6/8.
If this was a 6/8, it'd absolutely be playable.
Yeah.
As a 6 cost 7/6, not so much. You might see them in like
cases,
cheaper
though,
Cthulhu decks.
even with the 6 health, it's still going to require in most cases, unless somebody's got like a hex or a polymorph or fireball or something like that. Then most cases your enemies are still going to expend 2 spells to get this off the board, if they're really trying to control it that way, or they're at least going to throw a couple minions at this. It's still usually going to cost them at least 2 minions. So honestly, 7/6 worth of stats still isn't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. I just think there's better Cthulhu cards than this one that would fill this spot, as far as like late game Cthulhu synergy cards go.
Okay.
Brings us to our next card, Corrupted Healbot, 5 mana, 6/6 mech. Death Rattle, restore 8 health to the enemy hero. Why would you play this card?
Those OTK priests.
Priest, yeah. All right, that one priest spell comes into effect with this.
Yeah, if you have this out on the board, throw that down. Opponents may not necessarily see it coming. All of a sudden, you're blasting them in the face for 8 damage that turn. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So aside from priest decks, though, you're not gonna see this card.
Yeah,
It's terrible. But the hilarity of combo priest pulling that off, pretty fucking hilarious. If you see one of these come onto the field, you're probably gonna know if you're playing a priest, like, oh god, he's trying to combo me, and it might actually work because it's on the field. But yeah, all in all, you're not really gonna see this card. Next up, Blackwater Pirates, another pirate card. 4 mana costs 2/5. Your weapons cost 2 less. At first, I was like, this card is shit, but like a warrior class in particular, you can equip a fiery war axe for free, and you suddenly have 6 damage with the weapon. That's pretty good. So I don't know, might see some play. It's got the pirate synergy, but
Yeah, I mean, I think this actually has quite a bit of synergy for warriors and rogues.
Rogues too, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good card, especially if you're trying to do pirate stuff. There's what is it? Hold on a sec. Synergizes really well with Dread Corsair.
Yeah.
Really
Free,
well with
free Dread Corsair on like turn 4 would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So might see some play. I don't know if it'll be popular, but probably see some play. Pirate decks ahoy. Next card is Blizzard's answer to the Secret Paladin, basically. Eater of Secrets, a 4-mana cost 2/4. Battlecry, destroy all enemy secrets, gain +1/+1 for each. It's also pretty good against mage decks, even maybe some hunter decks. I don't think it's going to be commonplace, except for in Wild. I think you might find this card in Wild. Not necessarily to counter Secret Paladin, per se, but just there's a lot of secrets. And Wild, there will be a lot more secret-y decks in Wild than in Standard. And I think Blizzard knew that, and they made this card for it. So you might see it in Wild. Standard, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see too much of this in Standard.
Because it's just like, there's a good chance you just play a class where this does nothing, and it's a 4-mana cost 2/4. So, but if you're in Wild and that Christmas tree lights up, and this becomes like a 7/9, it's just like fuck, you won. You just won the game.
You're not wrong.
So might be a thing. Next up is the last dragon. There are 3 in this set. Midnight Drake, which is the exact opposite of Twilight Drake, in that it is a 4-mana cost 1/4 dragon, and its battlecry is gain +1 attack for each other card in your hand.
If you have a taunt, this card is good. If you don't, this card is awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not likely to get silenced, honestly, just because silence is so much.
It's too easy to kill this card.
Yeah, that's the thing. Twilight Drake, it can turn into a 4/7 pretty easily. This is a 7/4. I mean, 4 drops can kill it, 5 drops can kill it, a good amount of cheap removal can kill it. So I don't think it'll see much play. I might toy around with it, but I don't see it seeing a whole hell of a lot of play in Constructed or Arena. So
no, not at all.
Next up, another Cthulhu card, Disciple of Cthulhu. 3-mana cost 2/1, battlecry, deal 2 damage, give your Cthulhu +2/+2. I think this is going to be one of the cards that is absolutely going to be a staple in Cthulhu decks. It's awesome. It's a 3-mana cost card that deals 10 damage, buffs your Cthulhu, and gets a 2/1 on the board.
Deals 2 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, I think.
Brings us to our next card, Slithered Swarmer? Slithed Swarmer. I'm tired. It's 3 in the morning. It's a 3-mana cost, 3/5. Can only attack if your hero attack this turn. Means you probably won't see it outside of Druid, Rogue, Warrior.
Yeah.
In Druid, Rogue, Warrior?
I wouldn't even see it too much in Druid. A, because it doesn't have a beast tag, and B, because you have to use your hero power every turn.
It's true.
But Rogue, I think, will see a lot of this card. It's fantastic for Rogue. You've basically got, if you can basically play a minion turn 1, get your weapon turn 2, turn 3, play this, swing with your hero, swing with this. You've got 2 guaranteed turns that you're going to be able to swing with this. I mean, it's really good with Rogue.
Its
really
stat line
good.
isn't bad either. You're likely to knock out a couple things with it.
Absolutely.
3/5, so.
Absolutely. I mean, your best case scenario, you're looking at being able to destroy 3 creatures with this one early game and have a weapon, or as long as you're still swinging with your weapon.
So pretty likely to see it in play. I would.
Yeah, in Rogue decks, I would expect to see this experimented with in the next few weeks.
Next up, a 10-mana cost 10/10 Faceless Behemoth. That's all it is. It's a Cthulhu-looking dude for 10 mana, and it's a 10/10. I don't see this getting a whole hell of a lot of play, because you can just play an old god if you want to 10/10.
This card just doesn't do anything. It's too slow.
Yep.
If you're going to spend your whole turn for 10 mana, then it needs to do something the turn it comes into play, and it doesn't. And it's just all somebody has to do is play a big game hunter, and that's it.
It might be a good substitute for people that are saving up their decks to craft that one heavy tier legendary or something. But yeah, you probably won't see this outside of that kind of reasoning.
This is pretty awful.
Yeah, it's just too slow. Up next is a Eldritch Horror, which is a 8-mana 6/10. It's more likely to see play than a Faceless Behemoth, but again, I don't see this getting a whole hell of a lot of play.
I think this is a pretty good arena card.
Good arena card, yeah. And then, if it survives and you can taunt it up, it's pretty cool. But outside of that,
yeah. I mean, in arena, it's just under the threshold of big game hunter. It's got
Yeah.
the 10 health, so a player will have to expend a lot of resources to take it out, and it's very tough. I mean, you can take pretty much anything out with this and still be on the board. Especially if you've got buffs for it, you can turn around and roll Taskmaster it or something like that in arena. Then
Back to work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this card's going to be fantastic in arena, I think.
Up next is the Grotesque Dragonhawk, which is a 7 mana 5/5 beast with Wind Fury. I don't see this getting a whole hell of a lot of play, honestly.
This card is genuine trash.
Yeah, like, and the idea of it's not bad. Like, it's a beast card, it's got Wind Fury, it's a 5/5, but it's 7 mana. At that point in the game, it's pretty easy.
6, I could maybe understand it.
Yeah, it's just by the time you get to turn 7, like, it's easy to kill. Honestly.
Yeah, if this was 6, then you could Houndmaster.
Yeah,
and it would be worth it.
You have a point, Palmer. The Houndmaster memes. But yeah, I don't see this getting much play. Next up, Bog Creeper, a 7 mana 6/8 with Taunt. Pretty good. Not about constructed. It'll probably see some constructed play, but this is a pretty fucking good arena card. Just because it's a 6/8 with Taunt. It doesn't need to do anything else. It's a fucking 6/8 with Taunt for 7 mana, so likely to see play.
It's okay. It's Fen Creeper, just more powerful.
Yeah, it's just a more powerful Fen Creeper. But honestly, Fen Creeper is not a bad card.
I think it's good in arena. I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the synergy you would want in constructed, but in arena, pretty good.
Yeah.
What's up next? Nerubian Prophet. A 6 mana cost 4/4 at the start of your turn, reduce this card's cost by 1. I think this card's going to see a good amount of play.
I don't know. I think it might be too slow.
It's slow, but it's just the tempo it allows you. Like, if you drop a board clear, but at the point where you're dropping a board clear, this is like, what, 1, 2, maybe even 0 mana?
The only real way that I can see good value coming out of this is if this is a card that you keep in your hand from turn 1.
But Palmer, one word for you. Evolve. Shaman Dex. It's a 6 mana card.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you get this on turn 1 and you keep it in your hand,
right?
You play it on turn 3 and then evolve it on turn 4. It turns into a 7 mana creature. That's really good, but it's also so niche. It's
a dream scenario.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I just think this is a really good tempo card. Like, just even dropping it on turn 3 or something. If you don't have anything else in your hand. I don't know if it'll stick around forever, but this is going to see play in the next couple weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people will experiment with it.
Hope it sticks around, though. I think it's a cool concept. I really like the concept of it. Moving on, Psychotron, which is Annoyatron's annoying brother, I guess. 5 mana cost, 3/4 mech.
Fucking trash, dude.
Yeah, it's a 5 mana cost, 3/4 mech with Taunt and Divine Shield. It's just, it's 5 mana cost. And mech's synergy is kind of dead. There's still a few cards that actually work pretty well with it, but this is a 5 mana cost card that has 3/4 stats. But it does Taunt and Divine Shield, but it's probably pretty awful. You're not really going to see it, really. Maybe in Wild, like, it could fit in some stupid mech decks in Wild, but again, you're probably not going to see it.
I just don't see why you'd play that in Wild, though. Like, it just...
There are other things you'd want to put in your mech deck ahead of this.
Part of the reason that Annoyatron's so good is because it's so hard to deal with the early game.
It's just so cheap. You can just drop it on the board.
By turn 5, it won't be hard to deal with a 3/4 with Divine Shield.
Yeah.
It just won't be.
Next card up, Cult Apothecary. A 5 mana cost 4/4. For each enemy minion, restore 2 health to your hero. So kind of like an anti-aggro card. This might see some play, but I really don't see it sticking around too long. It's the idea of it's cool, but it's a certain circumstance you want to be in.
Really, the only thing that I can see this in is working in Zoolock, and it would just be a circumstantial card that keeps you alive long enough to be able to get your Cthulhu out.
Yeah. And even then, it's 2 health per thing. That's probably doing more than 2 damage at that point in the game, so you're probably fucked anyway.
Yeah.
Next up is a Polluted Hoarder, which is Loot Hoarder's evil twin, I guess. A 4 mana cost 4/2, Death Rattle, draw a card. Unless you really need a 4 slot filled in your deck, I think you'd take a Loot Hoarder over a Polluted Hoarder, almost every time. So probably not going to see much play.
Don't think this card's worth it at all.
Yeah, if you need draw, get a Loot Hoarder. Next up, Infested Tauren, a 4 mana cost 2/3 with Taunt, and its Death Rattle is to summon a 2/2 slime that does not have Taunt. Therefore, Palmer, card is shit.
Card is trash.
Yeah, the distribution of the stats for the mana cost just isn't very good.
No, it's really not. There's too much that it just what a garbage card.
Yeah, this isn't going to see much play.
I don't even understand why they'd make a card like this.
You gotta have garbage cards in every expansion, I guess.
Yeah. For some reason.
Moving on to the next card, Cthulhu's Chosen, which is a 4-mana cost 2/4 with Divine Shield, and its battle cry gives your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is. I don't know exactly, but me personally, I'm including 2 of these in every Cthulhu deck I build. These are awesome. They're like I can't remember the name of the card, but a 3/1 with Divine Shield, a Scarlet Crusader. It's like a Scarlet Crusader, but it buffs your Cthulhu and it has +1/+1. So I think this is if you're building a Cthulhu deck, you're gonna want this in your deck. Personally, I think because it fills out that 4-drop position really nicely. Cthulhu cards are really good at like 2 or 3 mana, and they're really good at like 6, 7 mana. But just that middle ground, there's there's a bit of diversity, but it's not terribly good choices. But I think this card fills that out pretty well.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad. Next up, Evolved Cobalt, a 4-mana 2/2 +2 spell damage. Kind of awful for 4 mana. Don't see it getting much play.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, pretty much.
I heard Noxious trying to make an argument for this about like putting it in spell damage decks, but
There are better spell damage cards. Next up, Aberrant Berserker. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm awfully tired. I hung over. I don't know what that word is. It's a 4-mana 3/5 enrage +2 attack. Don't see it getting a whole hell of a lot of play. If it had taunt, it'd be a different story. But a 3/5 with enrage +2 attack, it's just kind of for 4 mana.
I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty good. Actually.
I guess for the stat line, it's not awful, but I don't see it doing a whole hell of a lot of work. I usually specify.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could usually like if what's her name? If I play Elise, I usually get 2 minions out of her every time I ever play her. So with this, you're still getting. With this, it would be along the Elise mentality that I take 1 minion out and then swing it face the next turn. Or I take 1 minion out and it becomes kind of a taunt because all of a sudden it's a 5 whatever and my opponent just wants to kill it.
They want to run something into it to kill it. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, I don't think it's a bad card. I think it's pretty good actually. I think it's really good in Arena.
Yeah, it's a good Arena card for this. Yeah, I'll give you that. Moving on, Agma Rager.
Oh yeah.
Agam Rager.
Amgam Rager.
Amgam Rager. So 3-mana cost 1/5. Why the fuck would you ever play this card?
I don't know. It's a joke. This card is definitely a joke.
If you're building a Sun Fury / Defender of Argus deck, this card's pretty good. Outside of that, why would you play this card? Next up, Spawn of N'Zoth. A 3-mana 2/2 Death Rattle. Give your minions +1/+1. I'm kind of back and forth on this card. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana, but the potential of the Death Rattle is pretty hilarious. Like on the stream, the guy was playing a Warlock. He did the Warlock Tentacle spell. He filled the board with little 1/1 tentacles, ran this thing into an enemy minion, killed it, and all of a sudden his tentacles were 2/2. Stuff like that could be hilarious, but that's such a specific set of circumstances it's going to be on, and the fact that this is a 3-mana card, I don't know if it'll see a whole hell of a lot of play, but maybe.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I think it's pretty niche.
But that niche could be hilarious.
Could be. But then again, I mean, that's the case with a lot of cards in Hearthstone.
That's true. Especially this set.
Yeah.
Next up, Squirming Tentacle. It's a 3-mana 2/4 with Taunt. Not bad for the mana cost, stat lines, and that it has a Taunt. So maybe it'll see play, but it has no synergy with anything. So
it doesn't summon a slime with Taunt, Tim.
Doesn't summon a slime. You could bolster this thing. Oh, that'd be pretty good.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't. It might.
Man, are bolster decks gonna be a thing with all the fucking taunts?
There are a lot of taunt stuff, taunt neutrals in this expansion, so maybe. All right, next up, Twilight Elder, a 3-mana 3/4. At the end of your turn, give your Cthulhu +1/+1. Probably going to be a staple in Cthulhu decks. Pretty awesome. Not bad stat lines, and you're guaranteeing Cthulhu at least 1 buff. If it lives another turn, 2 buffs. So very likely to see play. Probably going to be standard in Cthulhu decks.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's a good 3-spot card for that type of deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to depend on how long. I feel like that's basically a 3-mana 3/4 with taunt because they're going to want to kill it.
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily right away, but it's something they don't want to leave on the board for more than a couple turns.
Yeah,
most.
exactly.
Next up, a Duskboar, a 2-mana 4/1 beast. Don't ever play this card. This card is bad. It is the Magma Rager with a beast tag, and it's 1 mana less.
But that
It's
beast
still-
synergy, Tim. That beautiful,
The
beautiful beast
Houndmaster?
synergy. Houndmaster
It kills 2 things with Houndmaster.
because it becomes a 6/3 with taunt.
Still awful.
No, this card is fucking trash.
Yeah, it's awful. Don't ever use this card.
Yeah.
Next up is a card that's coming with your first pack of Whisper of the Old Gods with Cthulhu, Beckoner of Evil. It's a 2-mana cost 2/3, and its Battlecry gives you your Cthulhu +2/+2. Not just because everyone's getting this card, but I think just for the stat lines and the early game-ness of the card, it's going to be a staple in Cthulhu decks. So you're going to see this card a lot while Cthulhu is being messed around with.
Maybe.
Especially considering everyone's going to have it. You're going to see this card a lot.
Maybe.
Maybe. We're getting near the end. Next card up, Twilight Geomancer. 2-mana cost.
Yeah.
2-mana cost 1/4 taunt, and its battle cry gives you Cthulhu taunt. You know, I actually thought about this card for like longer than I should have, like a good 5 minutes. It's like, do I really need my Cthulhu to have taunt? But it's a really good 2-drop because it's a 1/4 with taunt, yada yada. I'm running 2 of these in my first Cthulhu deck. I think there's potential there, and I think it's great for just stopping little weenies to getting at you and chipping away.
Weenies?
Little weenies.
Little weenies.
I think it's a pretty good card. Pretty good. Just for the stat line alone, it's a 1/4 with taunt for 2 mana.
Alright.
So got that going for it.
I guess. I mean, it's alright. I think I'd
So
only run one of these.
Yeah, I think most
personally.
people agreed if they're gonna run it, they're gonna run. But no, fuck that, Palmer. I'm running 2. 0 fucks given.
Double the taunt, double
Exactly.
the pleasure.
Exactly. Brand that shit. Come
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah.
Next up, Bilefin Tidehunter, a 2-mana cost 2/1 Murloc, which summons in a 1/1 ooze with taunt.
Yeah.
It's not a Murloc, but it does summon a taunt. Yeah, Murloc decks will probably fuck around with this card, but I don't know if it's gonna stick around.
I don't even think Murloc decks would really fuck around with it.
It's the taunt is nice, but
yeah.
yeah.
You get the ooze/slime with the taunts, but
That's it.
No synergy.
Yeah.
I mean, it could help keeping your small health Murlocs alive though. So
Yeah. It doesn't have the same amount of synergy as just a Tide Caller because it drops 2 Murlocs on the field. But
Yeah, exactly.
that one doesn't have taunt, so probably not gonna stick around, but it might. Next up, Twisted Worgen, a 2-mana cost 3/1 with stealth. Might see play in arena, won't see play in constructed. There's too many ways to get rid of a 1 minion or 1 health minions in fucking constructed, regardless of.
I don't know. You have to use an AOE for stealth, and like generally people just save it and run it into a minion. Like stealth is kind of just like a free 3 damage most of the time.
I don't see it getting much play in constructed. I do see it getting played in arena.
Yeah,
stuff.
it'll definitely see a lot of play in arena. Definitely.
Next up, Tentacle of N'Zoth, a 1-mana 1/1 death rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions. Pretty good potential for warrior decks.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people including this in the whole patron warrior thing that I keep hearing about, and I don't know, man. Patrons are going to be everywhere. That's basically all I can
Yeah,
see. when
and
I
this
see that.
card is something that'll likely play into that
Yeah.
because it's pretty good for a 1-cost card.
Yeah.
Last up, Zealous Initiate. 1-mana cost 1/1. And its death rattle is give a random friendly minion +1/+1. Nothing too exciting about this card. Death rattle's all right for 1-mana cost, but it's kind of who gives a fuck, honestly.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of potential with this. I don't think it's really that good of a card. I think it's
Maybe for like Death Rattle Rogue, but for something like Death Rattle Hunter, you're going to be running a lot of beasts with that, and you probably won't want to run this. So.
yeah, I don't see it.
But that brings us to the end
Certainly does.
of all of the cards.
3 hours.
Have we really been going for 3 fucking hours?
We've been going for 3 fucking hours.
Jesus Christ. Hungover as shit, too. I'm amazed it lasts this long.
Well, that is all the Old God expansion card reveals. We have gone through them in painstaking
detail. No one has watched this video all the way through, or you were insane in the memory. Just to sum up, I'm really excited to try out a couple different Hunter decks. I'm really excited to swap out 1 card in my current Dragon Priest deck, and I'm really excited to build a Druid Cthulhu deck. Those are the 3 kind of things I'm going to be playing for the foreseeable future, or at least building towards and crafting for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
What about you, Palmer? What's your game plan?
Really excited to start messing around with shamans and faceless totem shamans and
Theobald names.
random mid-range shaman nonsense and
I hear a lot of shaman, Palmer.
shamans and
I thought you'd be all hipstery and like not want to play shamans because now everyone's gonna want to play shamans.
well, that does upset me. But then the warlock board flood reliquary secret plays are gonna happen, and I'm just gonna be so happy. Just double the hogger, double the pleasure, double the fun.
What is what's your the card you're most excited about for this expansion?
Shaman legendary, definitely.
Shaman Legendary.
Yeah.
It has potential to be hilarious.
That and not Cthulhu, the other.
Oh, the spell guy Yogg.
Yeah, Yogg Saron.
Yeah, he's probably my number 2 just for the hilarity.
If I don't end up getting him out of the packs that I pre-ordered and the 13 additional ones, I'm gonna craft him because I'm just like I don't even care that he's not really gonna be viable and constructed. I just like
It's funny. Like who
I
gives a
just
shit?
want to just play the shit out of that card and just really enjoy it because I think it's just so well designed. Like it's just so unique. It's so unique to the world of Hearthstone, and I think it's just something that's just like all the memes left and right. Like if you lose to Yogg Saron, like
You're not mad.
you're not mad, dude.
You're happy.
You're just like that was great. I just polymorphed my own Yogg Saron, and now he dealt the 30 damage to me. What do I do?
He's giving the enemy armor. Send help.
Just spam greetings as the ship slowly sinks into the
Astonishing.
ground. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really excited for it, man. I think this expansion is probably one of the best designed ones that they've released so far.
It is light years ahead of TGT. I could there were a handful of cards I wanted from TGT that I could just craft.
Yeah.
This expansion, it's like, oh fuck, there's many angles to it. There's different things. I would have liked some demon cards. I know that doesn't gel with the whole like lore behind the expansion, but I would have liked some more dragons, some more demons. That's what I like to play. But I'm pretty happy with what we've got, and I'm pretty happy with how the meta's heading because it seems to be much more control. Although that means idiots playing Hearthstone are going to take half an hour to play their game instead of just face warrioring and dying. Yeah. Well, no, I love playing. My general games tend to last around between 5 and 10 minutes as opposed to 6 or 8. But yeah, I don't go for a whole half an hour. I'm just fuck that. I throw big dragons at them and they cry and concede, and that's how I win games. Or they just don't know. They panic because I threw a no Stormu down because I'm the only asshole who plays no Stormu. And they look at their cards and they panic and they end turn roping, and oh man, it's delicious. Delicious.
Yeah, I don't know. This, regardless of whatever your stance on how the meta is going to change, you're guaranteed to have some fun with this expansion.
Yeah, it can't be any worse than it's been for the past couple of months.
Exactly.
Well, it's just stale, and who gives a fuck?
On that note, I'm gonna end this now 3-hour, 2-minute long cast.
Oh yeah.
And take care, everybody. Hope to see you on the Hearthstone servers when everything launches.
Give us the wows.
Give us the astonishings.
All of it.